Hollywood's new century. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction. So please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story in all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter. And if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 301: A Trip to Hong Kong. Thor was released in a total of 3,720 theaters in North America. It opened at the box office of $71 million in 3 days over the weekend. Counting word of mouth, it is indeed not as good as when Iron Man was released last year. However, Thor did not switch to 3D during post-production, and the production cost is not as good as that of Iron Man. After all, the special effects shots are less, but the production cost has also reached $135 million. According to estimates, the North American box office of Thor is about $200 million. I hope overseas can give more strength. After all, the North American box office of Iron Man has exceeded $300 million in the small town of Venice on the edge of Los Angeles. Simon came to the seaside villa that Tong Liya had specially bought before. Have you finished filming? Simon asked Tong Liya about the filming of the movie Tai Chi. It's almost there. Most of the recent filming is Mr. Stephen Chow's part, and the actress Anne Hathaway is also absent recently. I heard that she is going to promote Thor. Tong Liya responded while sitting on the sofa. Simon nodded. Anne Hathaway is indeed going overseas to promote the movie. After all, she is the most famous actor in the whole movie. Are you going back to China? Can you come with me? Recently, many of Xinghai Pictures' films have been released overseas. Because there are many restrictions in China, there are many things to deal with. Simon is also helpless. After all, China is Simon. It is a big market that is valued, but it is not a system for the free distribution of films, and there are only 21 quotas for sub-account films in mainland China each year, either co-productions or a batch mode. Well, you're going to China too, then you can go together. I'm going back to China. Tong Liya must be happy when she hears it. Although Simon treats herself very well in the United States, she always feels that it is not as casual as it is in China. Afterwards, after a night in Venice, Tong Liya flew to the other side of the ocean on their own business jet the next day. In fact, there are people at Xinghai Entertainment who are dealing with the distribution of movies in China, and there is no need to worry about Simon, the boss. However, Simon has been in the United States for a long time, and of course he wants to go to China to see it, and in terms of understanding of Chinese movies, Simon knows better than anyone in the company. Simon's first stop in China was the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. After the plane landed at Kai Tak International Airport in Hong Kong, he went directly to his former mansion in Deepwater Bay, Hong Kong. Because it is a semi-tourism trip, Simon doesn't have to worry too much about some itinerary issues. In July, Hong Kong is also hot, but with a sea breeze blowing from the ocean, it must be much more comfortable than inland. In the early morning, Simon got up from Tong Liya and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, looked at the sea view, and then went to take a bath. By the time Simon got dressed and came out, Tong Liya had already prepared breakfast and was waiting. Eat it. I don't know if you are used to this kind of breakfast, Tong Liya said with a smile. Simon sat down at the table, shook his head and said, there's nothing I'm not used to. I eat the most Chinese food in America. While drinking milk, Simon asked, I'm going to stay in Hong Kong for a few days. I'll go to Beijing first, then Shanghai. Do you want to go home first? Tong Liya nodded and said, it's time to go back and have a look, and I heard that the company has a lot of projects this year, so I want to know about it. Of course, the company refers to Galaxy Entertainment. After all, it is a new company, and not bad money. There are many options for investment projects. Well, let's play in Hong Kong for a few days first. I'm also busy in the United States, and I don't have much time to accompany you. It's good to have a look around here. It's not bad to buy things, Simon said with a smile. Hong Kong is also a shopping capital after all. Well, women should like it. At noon, Simon hugged Tong Liya and kissed at the door for a while, and the girl went out by car afterwards. Simon also went directly to the Asian headquarters of Phoenix Fund by car and met Adam Root. The person in charge. Phoenix Fund's branch in Hong Kong is responsible for the entire Far East investment business, and Simon values technology and real estate as the top priority since Tencent Holdings was listed in Hong Kong in 2004. Simon has been focusing on it. When the Asian department of Phoenix Fund was established, Adam Root, in charge of the Far East, has not stopped absorbing Tencent's stocks, especially when Tencent's share price fell a lot after the financial tsunami last year. The absorption was greatly strengthened. At present, Tencent's share price is just over 20 Hong Kong dollars per share, and its market value is only more than 12 billion Hong Kong dollars, which is a bit higher than the lowest stock price of 6 Hong Kong dollars per share at the beginning of the year. How many shares of Tencent do we have now? Simon asked. About 14.5%. The total cost is almost $200 million. Adam Root responded quickly. After all, he also bought some from other shareholders, and the market is also acquiring it, but it will not be so fast now that China's economy is recovering strongly. Tencent's share price is rising fast, and the secondary market can't take much. Other major shareholders seem to be aware of it. If they continue to acquire, the price should be too high, Adam Root continued. He explained that, after all, Phoenix Fund invests in quite a few projects that require working capital. Simon nodded. 14.5%, which is probably enough. After a few years of WeChat development, it will double and rise afterwards. Simon specially instructed Adam to hold a few stocks that need to be held for a long time. For example, NetEase talked about the previous matter of letting Adam Root contact a Chinese consortium to build a movie theme park. It was already night when Simon left the Asian headquarters of Phoenix Fund and returned to the mansion in Deepwater Bay. Tong Linai is watching TV broadcast about Michael Jackson's death, news interview and other programs. Simon is of course clear about Michael Jackson's passing at the end of last month. After all, he was seen in Beverly Hills with his children some time ago. Well, do you like him too? Simon asked while sitting beside the girl. I don't know. I came from folk dance, and I don't know much about foreign songs and dances, but Michael Jackson is very famous, and I also know a little bit. It's a pity to die suddenly, Tong Linai responded, and immediately asked, Simon, you know him? It's said on the news that he has a sex addiction. Is it true? Simon shook his head with a smile, and replied with a wry smile, it's fake. He likes children very much. How many news from the entertainment industry are true? Michael Jackson offended someone who shouldn't have offended. The power of capital is not something he can contend with. If he chooses to fight, he will pay the corresponding price. Tong Linai nodded. After all, she was also in the entertainment industry, and her capital was high, but she didn't expect that even Michael Jackson couldn't resist this kind of pressure. You are too dark in America. The news said that he had a dispute with Sony Records. It must have something to do with Sony. Tong Linai doesn't have much ambition. Although she seems to be with Simon now, she also knows how big Simon is. It is estimated that it is short-lived. Okay, the United States is like this, but you don't have to worry about anything. With me, you can walk sideways, Simon said with a smile. After all, the United States is the same as dark or not, and this is the case all over the world. Chapter 302. Whether it is the nine-headed bird fund or its sub-fund Phoenix Fund, it has mainly been bottom hunting in the past 2 years, and the income has not been effective. After all, the wind and waves of the financial tsunami are still there, and economic recovery will take time. However, the development of Xinghai Entertainment can be described as rapid, and the film box office is rising steadily. The entire Asian market, especially the Greater China Cultural District, which Joe Lixon is responsible for, is even more important. Simon and Joe Lixon are sitting opposite each other in the Hong Kong headquarters office of Xinghai Pictures Asia branch. Iron Man's box office in China is very good. The attraction of special effects blockbusters should not be underestimated. I'm looking forward to Thor, Joe Lixon said with a smile. Simon nodded and said, there are not many credit-sharing films. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button and Slumdog Millionaire have Oscar halo blessings. Although they are also released in China, the box office seems to be not very good. In the future, special effects blockbusters and action films will still be the main promotion targets. If the others don't have a halo of awards, it will not be easy to get the quota for the account-sharing film. Joe Lixon nodded and definitely agreed with this statement. After all, if it doesn't work as a co-production, the only way to get the most benefit is to split the account. But China's current annual quota of 20 accounts is not so easy to get. By the way, this time I met with Mr. Han Sanping, chairman of China Film Group, in Beijing after returning from the United States. He has high expectations for Tai Chi and supports this co-production model very much. He is also interested in strengthening cooperation with Xinghai Pictures. With great confidence, Joe Lixon continued, after all, for the big production of Tai Chi, which is a story that is very helpful for the promotion of Chinese culture. China Film's support is very strong. Taichi, I am also confident. Now Columbia Pictures has also collaborated with China Film on a co-production Kung Fu Dream, starring Jackie Chan and Will Smith's son, and the gimmicks are enough. Will Smith himself, he was also one of the producers, and invested $25 million, and it seems to have escorted his son. Simon said with a smile. With Jackie Chan, not only does the domestic market have great competitiveness, but the international market is what they value. Joe Lixon began to worry about his own Taichi. After all, Zhou Xingqi's reputation in China is enough, but he will definitely not be able to compete with Jackie Chan internationally. Comparable, plus Anne Hathaway is also difficult. Don't worry, the cultural differences between China and the United States are too great. Haven't you seen that both co-productions are based on Kung Fu? In fact, I have never been very optimistic about co-productions led by the two parties. The international market must be developed. Those Hollywood directors don't understand Chinese culture, and in the end, even the Chinese market is lost, Simon said and smiled. So, I let director Stephen Chow lead the shooting of Taichi, first of all to ensure the Chinese market, plus the concept of Anne Hathaway and Kung Fu, as much as possible to gain the recognition of the international market. After all, Kung Fu made over $100 million at the global box office with an investment of $20 million. So, are you not very supportive of Sino-US co-productions? Joe Lixon asked in surprise. Simon shook his head and said, I can't say that. I think one side should dominate, and when the Chinese market is big enough, we can give more dominance to this side, or we can strengthen investment in local Chinese films in the future. The same is true condition. The next 10 years should be the golden decade of the Chinese film market. The position of the North American market is unshakable. We must seize the growth of the Chinese market. Xinghe Entertainment is not as profound as Hollywood's six majors. You also need to strengthen your side. Links with local studios. I understand that the main force of Xinghe International Cinema is now in China, and there is a special Asian Film Fund project. It will not be difficult to enter China as soon as possible. Joe Lixon is confident. After all, many movies produced by Xinghe Pictures are word-of-mouth box office, and that's good, and now the real estate sector is not very prosperous. You can acquire some inherent assets, cinemas, office buildings, etc. in Hong Kong and some important cities in mainland China. After all, the importance of this place in the future cannot be ignored. Simon reminded that it is best to buy the bottoms at this time, and in the future, Xinghe Films will need to participate in the production of local Chinese films, from fundraising and development of scripts to distribution and marketing. Listening to you, I feel that the responsibility on my body is getting heavier and heavier. Joe Lixon smiled, and then said solemnly, on the Chinese side, in terms of local films, my suggestion is to focus on comedies, supplemented by action films and romance films. The investment amount does not need to be too large now, and we can focus more on some new directors. Simon nodded in agreement. Moreover, I think that whether it is Pixar, DreamWorks Animation or Blue Sky Studio in Hollywood, the response of animated feature films in China is generally average, mainly because it does not fit China's state-owned culture, and now Xinghe Animation also has lighting. It's entertaining. The first animated feature film will be released next year. What do you think of this? After all, animated feature films are a magic weapon for attracting children, and they are also the foundation for the development of toys and other derivatives. In the future, Xinghe Entertainment will build a large-scale movie-themed resort in China. It seems that it is not perfect to rely on movie IP alone. There is no solution. The popular European and American animations from Pixar and DreamWorks Animation are indeed unacceptable in China, especially the Greater China Cultural District, which has never been cold to this kind of American animation. Joe Lixon said helplessly, in terms of animation, if it does not conform to Chinese culture, it is difficult to have a major breakthrough. Forget it. Let's try to let Lighting Entertainment set up a joint venture animation studio in China in the future. Hollywood's technology is matched with Chinese culture, and see if there is any gain. Simon did not insist, and reminded again, there are also RB and South Korea. These two markets are deeply influenced by Chinese culture, and the market is also okay, especially it is RB, but the market share is not small, so pay more attention. Understood. The story of the loyal dog Hachiko invested by Xinghe Kaixing Pictures will be released on RB next month. Is it necessary to strengthen RB's local film and television development? In recent years, the proportion of Hollywood in the RB film market has begun to decline, which has been surpassed by local films. Moreover, Japanese anime has a higher status in RB, and this cake is not so easy to eat next month. I will also go to Beijing and Shanghai to see, Simon said and stood up. After all, July is the domestic protection month for Chinese films, and there are no foreign films released going to Beijing and Shanghai in August. You can check it out on the spot. Chapter 303 Interview Plan. Simon stayed in Hong Kong for more than half a month and did not have much time to show up, but he also met with some senior employees of Xinghai Entertainment Far East. Of course, I have also participated in local film and television exchanges in Hong Kong, including some people from the political, entertainment and financial circles. He also discussed investment in Hong Kong with Hong Kong's Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Luang Wai Lan Tong Lin has already returned to Beijing to deal with her own affairs in advance, so Simon is also preparing to leave Hong Kong. Simon, I have also met some government officials recently. The Ministry of Commerce of China would like to make an appointment with you for a formal business exchange on Sino-American culture and investment. Joe Lixon came to Simon's mansion in Deepwater Bay specially to explain this. Does the Ministry of Commerce of China have such a big influence on Xinghai Entertainment? Simon smiled. The reputation of the 900 Fund cannot be ignored, and your Phoenix Fund's actions in China are not small, and its investment in Hong Kong is also large. Joe Lixon smiled. Not now, let's see next year, when I will lead a team back for a formal inspection. Simon did not refuse. The future movie-themed resort is a big project, and there must be a lot of exchanges with the Ministry of Commerce of China. Joe Lixon nodded. This is just the intention proposed by the Ministry of Commerce. Don't worry now. By the way, the animated film Astro Boy will be released in October. China Film is responsible for distribution in China, and Weinstein International Pictures is responsible for overseas distribution, Joe Lixon said with a smile. After all, this Astro Boy is responsible for the distribution. It was developed by Yima Studio with an investment of nearly $50 million. The overseas distributor was originally Summit Entertainment, but it was stopped after being acquired by Xinghai Pictures. When Simon heard it, he smiled and said, "This is very interesting. The investment of $50 million is a lot. China Film and Weinstein should also support a lot as the first animation studio in China famous for producing high-end CG animation films. Yima Studio will be loaded this time. Although the animated film Ninja Turtles produced in the past 2 years is still good at the box office. Wait, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic is from Mirage Studios," Simon recalled. The film copyright of this comic was produced by Golden Harvest in the 1990s, and New Line Pictures made a big profit in the US. In the future, it was bought by Paramount and found Michael Bay to restart the live-action version. I looked at my watch. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was still early morning in the United States. Immediately, Simon used a computer to send an email to Sonia Roman in the United States, asking if Phantom Studio had sold the movie rights of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If not, Xinghai Pictures would take it directly from Phantom Studio. Well, what's the matter? Joe Lixon asked when he saw Simon in a hurry. It's nothing. I suddenly thought of something that needs to be confirmed by the United States, Simon said and waved his hand. By the way, you came here today, not just to tell me about this, and formally interviewed with the Chinese Ministry of Commerce today. The owners of several film companies in Hong Kong have a yacht club in Central. I'll see if I can invite you to visit. There will be many Hong Kong filmmakers in attendance. I want to deepen the film relationship between the two parties. Joe Lixon smiled and said, after all, he is different from Simon. He is a Hollywood tycoon, and the market in Hong Kong is not in his eyes. I am responsible for the deployment strategy of Xinghai Films in Asia. This is my job. I will see if Simon is interested. The yacht club, let's go. Although I have seen them before, but I don't know who is who. I don't communicate much, Simon said, sitting on the sofa, the corner of his mouth curled up. Knowing that I should have driven the Polaris from the United States, I might be able to take a trip around the world. Joe Lixon smiled and heard about Simon's huge and luxurious Polaris. After all, it is a super luxury yacht worth $200 million. Afterwards, Joe Lixon took Simon to the Central Marina. There are indeed many rich people in Hong Kong, but this financial tsunami should have caused many rich people to bleed, all of which are real estate. Simon came to the dock and saw a lot of parked yachts. It's true that there is bleeding, but the one in Macau is most affected, and the casino resort is not feeling well. Joe Lixon responded yes. Simon nodded in agreement, and then smiled again. I bought a lot of stocks in Macau casino hotels. I believe their business will come back after the recovery. The business in Las Vegas is also very bad, Joe Lixon asked. Otherwise why would he buy the stock of the Macau casino hotel? Not as good as Macau, Sands China, Macau in China MGM are basically beyond Las Vegas. Those Las Vegas casino tycoons are bleeding a lot this year. Sheldon Adelson, Kirk Corey and other wealth have shrunk by more than half, Simon said and laughed. Anyway, they are all gambling kings. The stock of casino hotels is now low, and it is very cool to hunt for dips. Hey, Joe Lixon just smiled helplessly. It seems that his boss's focus is not entirely on Xinghai Entertainment. Well, the person who picked us up is here. Joe Lixon's current status is not low, and he is also a customer of Phoenix Fund. Of course, he is very happy to make money afterwards. Joe Lixon took Simon to yacht in the Victoria Sea, and soon several people came to greet him. This is Mr. Lin Jianiyu from Hong Kong Media Asia Entertainment. This is Mr. Yang Xiaochang from Emperor Entertainment Hong Kong. This is Xiang of China Star Entertainment. Mr. Hua Kaiang, Mr. Wang Beiming of Oriental Entertainment. There are also some Hong Kong stars. Even Jackie Chan also went back to Hong Kong to attend. Simon shook hands with him, and from the deck to the living room, many people came, but most of them were afraid to come forward. After all, who would dare to interrupt the people surrounded by the bosses of the 4 major film companies in Hong Kong? Mr. Puck is coming to Hong Kong. We are extremely welcome, and now the movies produced by Xinghai Pictures are very popular. Lin Jianiyu was originally from a rich family, and they soon started talking well. I also know the brilliance of Hong Kong movies, and their influence in Asia is indeed second to none, Simon said after looking at Jackie Chan and continued, Jack's movies are not very popular in the United States. Of course, there are many people who are fans of Jet Li. Jet Li is Jet Li, and among the Chinese, apart from Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, he is the most successful person to break into Hollywood. Simon stayed on the yacht until the night and left. After all, this kind of thing can be left to Joe Lixon to discuss. Simon, as the big boss of Xinghai Entertainment, certainly won't waste too much time in the Hong Kong market. Afterwards, Simon took his bodyguards to Lan Kwai Fong in Hong Kong, and he had to go to a bar to relax. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304. Lan Kwai Fong is a small street in Central District with many bars. Many foreigners like to come here for recreation. After Simon and his party arrived, they chose a fairly high-end bar and went in. After all, Lan Kwai Fong has many handsome men and beautiful women at night, and the external environment of the alley is really bad. Soon after Simon entered, he was surrounded by a group of young models when he arrived at the VIP box. After all, someone helped arrange this. I heard that you are studying at the University of Illinois at Chicago? Sitting next to Simon is a long-legged beauty model who is only 20 years old and can speak fluent English as Simon's guide. Yes, I just planned to return to Hong Kong this year. Now I am a model and host, and I also participated in the Miss China election, said Zhang Ziwen, a young and beautiful model who has also lived in the United States for many years. Simon took a close look at Zhang Ziwen. He is indeed very beautiful and has a great figure. I heard that he is still a small actor and has participated in TV. Simon nodded, watching the group of demons dancing below while drinking. There are quite a lot of energetic people. Zhang Ziwen was of course very lucky to get this opportunity to follow Simon, pouring wine very diligently and introducing some things that Simon was interested in while drinking. Simon listened to Zhang Ziwen talking about some anecdotes about Hong Kong. After all, Simon is also the soul of China in his bones. He felt a little interesting and smiled from time to time. Zhang Ziwen seemed to feel good when he saw Simon, and his hanging heart slowly began to let go. You said that the owner of Lan Kwai Fong here is a Canadian Jew, whose Chinese name is Sheng Ziwen. Simon laughed. Last year also added Chinese citizenship. Isn't it nonsense? This guy has been in China for so long and his assets are here. What is the problem with joining Chinese nationality? And it is the ID card of the Hong Kong SAR. What's wrong? Yes, Lan Kwai Fong can become Hong Kong's nightclub paradise, and he has nothing to do with it, Zhang Ziwen responded. At this time, the outside seemed to be restless, and the DJ on the stage made the atmosphere more enthusiastic. From time to time, many people looked in a certain direction. Someone ordered high-end drinks, the DJ shouted it out, and the display outside also showed the consumption amount of some private rooms, Zhang Ziwen explained as Simon looked down. That's right, Simon smiled. Simon used to like to go to the bar, and he rarely went to the bar in America next door. Should be Hong Kong movie star Wong Kai-sheng and his party. When I came here, I saw him and his friends come to have fun. Zhang Ziwen just said unintentionally that Hong Kong's big star is coming, and hearing Simon's ears, Wong Kai-sheng is still very familiar. Simon looked at the drinks on the table, then said with a smile, "Order some more wine, and order more than a dozen bottles of their most expensive ones." Zhang Ziwen froze for a moment, then nodded. "The most expensive bottle of champagne is 180,000 Hong Kong dollars, a dozen bottles." Not only Zhang Ziwen, but the girls around seemed surprised. After a while, the beautiful waiter at the door was called in by Zhang Ziwen. After Zhang Ziwen said a few words, the beautiful waiter bowed excitedly and ran out. After a while, the atmosphere below was fired to the highest level, and more than a dozen girls walked to the private room with their plates. Simon's action surprised the bodyguards in the private room, and 2 bodyguards stood at the door and stared at the wine delivery girl who came in. After all, Simon's safety is the most important thing. "Okay, Jack, don't be too nervous, it'll be alright." Simon smiled at the serious head bodyguard. "Sir, you're in a good mood today, but it's my duty," Jack said after looking at Simon and forced a smile. "Jack, it's not bad here, many people like to come and settle in Hong Kong." Jack has been following Simon for a long time, and it is normal to chat. "It's good, but it's still too far from America." Jack laughed. "Drink it," Simon said, holding up the champagne he had just poured and drinking it. The girls in the private room immediately got excited. After all, there were too few opportunities to drink such expensive champagne at this moment. The private room next door is indeed Wong Kai-sheng and a few friends, and several actors from the movie Defection. There are more than 10 men and women together. The actress Fala Chen in Defection came in from the outside, sat down and said to the friends around her, "Someone next door spent 3 million Hong Kong dollars for a one-time call. I don't know what big man came here, and there are bodyguards at the door." Zi Xianhua, one of the male protagonists in Apostate, said, "It should be some rich second generation in the city." Wong Kai-sheng was hugging a sexy girl and said with a smile, "I seem to know something. Isn't there a big boss in Hollywood recently? It's been on the news recently. Many bosses in Hong Kong have gone to see him today. It's probably one of them. Maybe people come to have fun. However, the shot is really big, and it's just a few million thrown out casually." Zi Xianhua has been a supporting role before, but fortunately, he is now popular with the role of TVB Xiaoj. "Forget it, drink. It's okay to be lively over there, at least there won't be too many people here to disturb us," Wong Kai-sheng said, kissing the girl next to him on the face. "Brother Sheng, do you want to go over there to say hello or something?" Fala Chen felt that Wong Kai-sheng was also a big star in Hong Kong, and he was well known. Maybe he could get to know the next door. Wong Kai-sheng's eyes rolled when he heard it. Anyway, most of the filmmakers in Hong Kong know themselves. If you can recommend, of course. Simon doesn't know the thoughts of Wong Kai-sheng and others next door. Anyway, just order Jiu was just impulsive when he heard Wong Kai-sheng's name. After all, what this guy said and did in the past, now or in the future, has made Chinese people hate it to the extreme. Due to more than 10 bottles of champagne, Simon and his party drank for a long time in the private room, holding Zhang Ziwen on the left and a young Hong Kong model named Chen Jing on the right. Just when Simon was about to leave in the middle of the night, Simon just came out of the box door with a confused head. "Mr. Parker, Mr. Wong Kai-sheng, a famous Hong Kong movie star, is waiting for you at the door. I want to invite you for a drink," Zhang Ziwen said after seeing Wong Kai-sheng standing at the door. After chatting a few words and returning to Simon, Simon narrowed his eyes and looked at Wong Kai-sheng, who was standing at the door with a flattering and wretched face. He waved his hand disdainfully and said, "Let him leave, I don't have time to drink with him." After speaking, Simon impatiently walked towards the stairs in the corridor, as if he didn't take Wong Kai-sheng seriously at all. Standing there, Wong Kai-sheng, of course, heard what Simon said, and his expression was like daring a fly staring at Simon and his group disappearing at the corner of the corridor. Wong Kai-sheng was so angry that he scolded the dead ghost in his heart. Chapter 305 Galaxy Culture. In a high-rise mansion in Beijing, Siwai District, and Guamao CBD area, Simon stood in front of the window and admired the city of Beijing. Tong Liai came over from behind with 2 glasses of wine, handed Simon a glass, and said with a smile, "I've been in Beijing for 3 days, isn't there something wrong? Why are you all playing?" Indeed, Simon spent 3 days in Beijing after coming from Hong Kong, leaving footprints on the Great Wall, the Forbidden City and other attractions. "It's not a big deal, there are so many people in the company, I don't need to care about anything," Simon said, Looking back at the beautiful Tonglai and smiling, how is living here? Simon had let Adam Root invest in Chinese real estate before and formed a joint venture with a local real estate company. Big cities such as Beijing and Shanghai are of course the preferred targets, mainly for the development of high-end residential and office buildings. Tonglai now lives in one of the real estate developments developed by the company, a high-rise mansion with an area of about 3,500 feet. Yes, this is the bustling business district of Beijing, surrounded by headquarters of various large multinational corporations. Chang'an Avenue, the junction of the Embassy District. Tonglai responded with a smile. Simon nodded. In fact, Simon bought a villa in Zhigai Villa before, but he didn't come to Beijing very often. By the way, how is the company? Simon asked about Galaxy Culture. Yes, I have already started investing in low-budget movies, but it's mainly TV dramas, and I have also signed a few new people to cultivate. Tonglai felt happy when she talked about the company. Well, now you can buy as many novel IPs as possible, and adapt them into film and television dramas when appropriate, so that you can better cultivate new people, Simon suggested. After all, China is different from the United States. Hollywood's anti-monopoly laws. Film companies are not allowed to get involved in the artist brokerage business now. You probably don't have much experience in movies, so you should first gain experience as a small-budget movie investor, Simon continued. Tonglai nodded. Although Galaxy Culture is not short of funds now, spending money is not arbitrary. The company's current main business direction is artist brokerage, but I will tell Zhengjia to buy novel IP. In the future, Galaxy Culture can also produce film and television dramas by itself. Now because I participated in the Sino-US co-production blockbuster Tai Chi, there is a high degree of discussion in China. Tonglai smiled. Originally, she was only a small actor, but now her popularity has suddenly risen. Afterwards, Simon hugged Tonglai affectionately and kissed at the window. Simon, who stayed in Beijing, can no longer stay idle. After all, Simon is investing more and more in China now. Some of the business of Xinghai Entertainment must be dealt with, so it must be met with a person in charge of China film and other aspects. Beijing, HD District, the headquarters of Galaxy Culture and Entertainment Company. Tonglai and Zhengjia are chatting about the company's business in the office. The sitcom Love Apartment we invested in was launched on Zhuangzi Satellite TV, and it has a good reputation and ratings, and the comedy movie Nightclub that we invested in earned 8 million yuan at the box office in a week, Zhengjia said with a happy face. Love Apartment has just been released, and according to word of mouth, the ratings will definitely be higher. As for Nightclub, although it is only a new director, Su Zhang's investment, the cost is only 2.4 million yuan. It's great. Tonglai smiled, and then she thought of something. Well, Yang Mi is very popular now. Will she come to our Galaxy Culture? Tonglai asked. After all, The Legend of Sword and Fairy 3 just aired this year, has high ratings, and Yang Mi is the heroine in it. Yes, it's been agreed. Her contract with Rongzinda expires next year. Rongzinda doesn't have very good resources now, and the leading dream of Red Mansions has been receiving negative reviews, and the film aspect is basically not involved, Zhengjia said with a smile. Yang Mi will definitely come. There are currently no heavyweight stars in Galaxy Culture. Tonglai has already appeared in Chinese and American blockbusters. There is no shortage of resources to know big people. Galaxy Culture can focus on cultivating Yang Mi. That's good. By the way, didn't you have the copyright of some novels you were optimistic about before? We should buy them back as soon as possible, and then adapt them into film and television works, Tonglai said again. After all, Simon also suggested. So yes, there are several, Zhengjia said, taking out a document and handing it to Tonglai. Tonglai looked at it, and it was indeed the introduction of several novels startling step by step, traveled through. There is also The Queen of the World, a court drama. Is it okay? Tonglai asked. The novel is quite popular, but I don't know what will happen after the adaptation, so we need to find a film and television company with this type of production experience to cooperate, so as to ensure the ratings. Zhengjia is also an agent after all, and lacks experience in film and television production. Okay, but we also need to focus on cultivating newcomers to the company. In terms of movies, if you have a good script, you can continue to invest, as long as the cost is not high. Tonglai has spent a lot of time since she opened the Galaxy Entertainment Company learned this knowledge. As long as the TV series are not too crude and the ratings are too low, it is not easy to lose money. If the movie is different, if the box office is not good, it will lose money quickly. Yes, there is a comedy film about the story of the Spring Festival. Hong Kong director Yu Weimin, One of the main actors is also Su Zheng. Su Zheng found us and hoped to continue investing, Zheng Jia responded. This time, we did not make a decision so quickly. After all, this time but more than 2 million. What do you think about the story? How? Su Zheng should be good, right? The box office of Nightclub has already reached 8 million. How much investment is needed? Twang Liaya asked. I think it's okay. The script is very down to earth, but I don't know how the box office will be after it is released. The total investment is about 7 million yuan. Wuhan Huoqi Film and Television is the producer who can invest 2 million yuan, Zheng Jia explained. This means that Galaxy Culture and Entertainment needs to invest 5 million then. Why don't you vote? I think Su Zheng is very talented in comedy. Tong Linai now estimates that her appetite has grown, and 5 million yuan doesn't feel much. By the way, can you sign Su Zheng to our company, so that it will be more convenient to cooperate? Twang Linai suggested, but Su Zheng is a long-established TV star. So I don't know if the old brokerage company will let them go. I'll give it a try, then we will continue to vote for the Su Zheng's movie? Zheng Jia was not sure to dig Su Zheng over. After all, the Galaxy Culture and Entertainment Company is just a new company. Well, we have invested in Galaxy Culture, and we will make our own movies in the future, Tong Liaya said with anticipation. The company will find screenwriters, directors, and actors to develop it. Zheng Jia nodded. Galaxy Culture also has its own advantages, right? Hollywood Xinghai International Films is also a shareholder of the company, and Xinghai International Cinema now has more than a dozen multi-room complex cinemas in China. Chapter 306 Multinational Corporation? In the evening, at the entrance of the China World Hotel on Jianguomenwei Street, CY District, Beijing, Simon and Han Sanping, chairman of China Film Group, just said goodbye. How is it? Do you have any new ideas for strengthening Sino-US co-productions? Joe Lixon also came to Beijing from Hong Kong to accompany him. Simon smiled and shook his head and said, it's not that easy to make a film together. Whether it's Westerners performing Eastern stories or Easterners performing Western stories, it will put the cart before the horse. This is a cultural gap. It's not that Simon doesn't support co-production of blockbusters, but it's just that the gains outweigh the losses now. After all, there are only 20 split films in the Chinese market, and there are still 6 non-US films. Moreover, the current production share of split films in the Chinese market is only 13%, although the MPAA has been lobbying the Chinese government to increase the number of films introduced and increase the share. However, Simon knew that this would have to wait until the signing of a new Sino-US film agreement when President Xi visited the United States in 2012. The 20 films will be added with 14 special films, and the proportion of the producer's box office share will be increased to 25%, of course. Compared with the 35% of the box office for imported films internationally, it is not enough, but the 25% of the Chinese market does not need to be taxed. Therefore, at present, Hollywood values the Chinese market because of its large population, and focuses on the future film market. It's impossible to say how much Hollywood is paying attention now. After all, the Chinese market is too small. Except for some co-productions that will be promoted by Hollywood stars, basically no film creators will come to China to promote movies. Co-productions do have advantages. China's local tax rebate policy and capital subsidies, just like the previous Mission Impossible 3, in Shanghai and other places, there are tax rebates. The quota for 20 films is indeed not many, but it is better than approving films, Joe Lixon smiled. But now that the Chinese film market is growing rapidly, new policies will definitely come out. At present, in order to increase the popularity of Xinghai films in China, it is better to invest in some local Chinese films, and then consider co-productions after having a suitable script. Simon knew that the Chinese film market would become a big market comparable to that of the United States in the future. Plan ahead. China Film hopes that Xinghai International Asian Films can cooperate with Chinese film companies to make 1 or 2 blockbuster films about Chinese culture every year. But Xinghai Films hopes to invest in some local Chinese low-cost films to cultivate directors and the market. What's more is that Hollywood blockbuster has achieved good results in China. After all, Xinghai Pictures is aimed at the global film market. For films cooperating with China, the distribution in China must have nothing to do with Xinghai. Xinghai Pictures is responsible for the distribution in international markets such as North America and Europe. However, how much international box office will a film about China make? After so many years, there is also a market for kung fu films. After a while, Simon and Joe Lixon returned to the Beijing hotel. Here are several blockbuster films that China is currently preparing for development, Joe Lixon said. Handing Simon a document, but I have seen it, and it is mainly aimed at the domestic market. If it is released overseas, it is estimated that the results will not be good. Simon looked at it. Direnji, The Empire of Heaven directed by Sui Hark, Let the Bullets Fly directed by Zhang Wen, Sword Rain directed by John Woo. It's true that they're all famous directors in China. Forget about John Woo's films, they just came back from Hollywood, and the box office reputation of Red Cliff is also a mess, Simon said with a sigh and said, the other two films are blessed by big directors and big stars, and the box office in China will not be low, but it is difficult to have a high box office in North America. Joe Lixon nodded and said with a smile, I think so too. In fact, there is another great director, Chen Cage, who also has a project, but after reading the story, I think it's unnecessary. Joe Lixon was talking about The Orphan of Zhao prepared by Chen Cage. Wait, we still focus on the distribution of our own films in China at present. You can cast any local Chinese films that you like. It doesn't matter if you don't have them. Anyway, the Chinese film market is developing very fast. Naturally, you should pay attention, and you can also establish a good relationship with some Chinese capital first. Chinese capital always goes overseas, and it is also good for us to be a bridge, Simon said with a smile. As for those with high box office in China movies, however, can let Galaxy Culture get involved. After Simon left the China World Hotel, he went straight back to Tong Lia's mansion in Guamao CBD. In recent days, Tong Lia listened to Simon's advice and began to buy IPs for film and television adaptations with Zhengjia, whether novels or script creativity. By the way, I recently found out that there seems to be a lot of news about Korean artists here. It seems that Korean entertainment is very popular in China, Simon asked while sitting on the sofa. Hallyu is coming. Yes, now many Korean idols are hitting the domestic market. Most of them are male and female idol groups. In South Korea, like RB, they use an assembly line to cultivate idols, and what kind of trainee system is used? As for the shareholders, they are mainly engaged in the brokerage business, so how can they not understand this aspect? Simon nodded. It is true that the Korean wave has almost swept Asia in recent years, and a dance song Nobody has also entered the American market. Idol groups, Galaxy Entertainment should also be able to cooperate with South Korea. It seems that they can also sign a few Korean artists to cultivate them, Simon said. Tong Lia turned her head, stunned for a moment, and said with a smile, although we think about it, we haven't done well in domestic business, and we have no experience in transnational business. It seems to be the same. No hurry, you can take your time. Simon said that he has started to think, the Korean entertainment industry can't let it go in a few days. I will also go to South Korea to see the situation. Maybe there will be some opportunities for cooperation or development. Simon really doesn't want to miss the few influential idols that will appear in South Korea. Why are the big entertainment groups like SM, JYP, and YG not good for competition, and those small brokerage firms can do it? Those good seedlings can't be cheap Korean sticks, can they? Going to Korea? Tong Lia nodded and had no problem. After all, Xinghe Entertainment is now a big entertainment group. As for whether there are any Korean companies that can cooperate with Galaxy Culture, Tong Lia believes that as long as Simon goes out, it will not be a problem. Then, in the future, Galaxy Culture and Entertainment will become a multinational entertainment company, not only an artist broker, but also a film and television production. Thinking of this, Tong Lia smiled, but she was excited. The most important thing at present is to develop this acre of land in China first. Chapter 307. China, SH City. Simon took a helicopter to hover over the outskirts of Shanghai's PDX district before returning to the World Financial Center building in Lijiazhu, PDX district. The Shanghai World Financial Center is currently the second tallest building in China, second only to Taipei 101. The Park Hyatt Shanghai is on the 79th to 93rd floors of the World Financial Center Tower, and Simon has stayed here since he came from Beijing. Not only Simon came, but also brought Joe Lixon and Adam Root and others. The place we just looked at is the land that the SH City government is going to sell to Disney to prepare for the Disney resort? Simon asked while sitting on the sofa in the living room of the hotel suite. Adam Root nodded. After all, he had had some dealings with the SH City government before. SH City government values Disney's international brand effect and its ability to improve SH City's economy, Adam Root said helplessly. Moreover, The SH municipal government doesn't seem to be optimistic about the movie theme park plan proposed by our Xinghai Entertainment. Even if there is support, it will not have as much support as Disney. Simon nodded and said, "Of course I understand, that piece of land is huge, and it's a good place. Compared to RB or other places in the tidal flats or valleys, the sincerity of SH City is full. After all, RB's Disneyland or Universal Studios are all seaside tidal flats that need to be reclaimed. In terms of land, it can't be compared with SH City at all at present. The movie-themed resort that can be compared to Disneyland is the brand effect of Universal Studios," Adam Root said again. After all, building a large-scale movie-themed resort requires a lot of capital, and the brand effect is what attracts capital. Main event: it is impossible for Xinghai Entertainment to directly spend tens of billions of dollars to build it by itself. Disney, Simon said while tapping his fingers on his knees. Marvel was in his own hands, and Disney's current film and television business was supported by Pixar. Live-action movies are in a mess at the moment, and a bit of a threat is the live-action movies adapted from Disney animations. Do they really have such great confidence in developing Disneyland in China? Simon, it won't be so fast. It will take a long time to build a large-scale resort of this scale. Even if we sign a cooperation intention, as long as the funds are not in place, we will have a chance, Jolixon explained. Well, I understand that Disney relies on animation to conquer the world. For so many years, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck have indeed been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, Simon said, his eyes lit up, thinking, it seems that we have to make official contact with General Electric as soon as possible, and Vivendi can't let it go. NBC Universal needs to take control as soon as possible to feel at ease at this time, Adam Root said. When I was in contact with DreamWorks Animation, Paramount, Warner Brothers personnel in charge of movie resorts, and China Overseas Chinese Town Group and other capitals, the Chinese side supported several of our companies in the construction of Guangdong. The regional government will also fully cooperate with a movie-themed playground in the south of China. Isn't Hong Kong Disneyland over there? Except for tourists from Hong Kong and Macau, it is heading for Southeast Asia. The population of mainland China is a future dividend. Singapore in Southeast Asia also has Universal Studios, but don't worry. Simon doesn't want to build a movie theme park in the south. After all, Hong Kong has Disneyland and Singapore has Universal Studios. In the future, China has developed, and a large number of tourists are still the population of mainland China. Therefore, Simon values Shanghai and Beijing, two world-class cities. By the way, Li Xian, if you have time, help me buy a house or two in Shanghai, Simon said suddenly. In Shanghai? Simon, don't you have a property in Beijing? Jolixon asked in surprise. Compared to Beijing, I seem to prefer Shanghai. Find a single-family villa with a quiet environment and a good view. If you have a good high-rise mansion, you can buy it, and you can still live in Shanghai in the future. Okay, there are some top-level European-style single-family large villas for sale in Sheshan Scenic Area, which opened last year. The environment is quiet, the scenery is beautiful, the transportation is convenient, and the supporting living facilities are also very complete. Jolixon thought about it and felt that Sheshan Shimeo was the site is not bad, very similar to Beverly Hills in Los Angeles. As for the high-rise villas, I'll pay attention to you in the BJ area. Jolixon is in Hong Kong most of the time anyway, and he often comes here from Beijing, Shanghai and other places. Okay, over there in South Korea, you go over and prepare first. Adam and I will also go there in a few days, Simon said and turned to look at Adam Root. This time I went to South Korea not only to see Xinghai in the film distribution industry in South Korea, at the same time, I also have to hunt down some careers in the evening. After Jolixon and Adam Root left, Tong Liai came over. I'm going to South Korea in 2 or 3 days, and then I may go back to the United States. Just call me directly if you have any important business here, or you can go to the United States to play, Simon said while holding Tong Liai. Tong Liai nodded and said with a smile, I know. By the way, Xinghai Kaixing Pictures is not a remake of the RB movie. The Faithful Dog Hachiko is about to premiere on RB. Why don't you go and watch it? Simon shook his head and said with a smile, small budget movies, no need. Will it be released in China? Tong Liai asked again. Yes, it is a warm and touching sincere emotional film, suitable for Asian culture, and there will be no market in the United States. Simon responded that, after all, the protagonist is not Richard Gere. Although it can't make a component account, it can be released in batches. This kind of small-budget film, the moving box office will not be high, and the main market is still the RB region. Xinghe Pictures will not turn this film into European film to break into China's split film market, nor will the 14 spots for American films and 6 spots for non-American films be wasted on this kind of film. Hey, the current Thor has a good box office in China, and it is about to get over 100 million yuan at the box office. Twang Lidai also understands the distribution rules of some movies. The Chinese market still likes Hollywood blockbusters. Even if Thor won 100 million yuan at the box office in China, only 13 million people will be allocated to Xinghe Pictures, which is about $2 million in box office revenue. Therefore, of course, Xinghe Pictures did not let any of the main creators come to promote it in mainland China, but RB, a big market director, starring, etc., all came to participate in the promotion. It's still early. In a few years, I believe that many distributors will pay attention to the promotion of movies in China. Now our main purpose is to increase the awareness of Chinese audiences about our Xinghe department. Simon is not worried, but I also hope that Xinghe Pictures can be as well known as other major Hollywood distributors. Chapter 308 Korean Movies. South Korea, Seoul, Seongra Hotel. Simon Pike was looking at a stack of materials collected by Adam Root, and then placed it on the coffee table in front of the sofa. NHN is currently the largest internet company in Korea, mainly composed of the search engine Naver and the combined game business. Adam Root explained, after all, Simon asked himself to invest heavily in NHN. Didn't you engage in social communication? Simon said after thinking for a while. It seems that the line communication software has not yet come out. Adam, let people in RB pay more attention to the NHN RB Club, and the Phoenix Fund will also invest heavily in NHN RB. Simon knew that the future line was formerly known as NHN RB, the largest social communication software in Japan and South Korea. Okay. Adam Root-headed, after all, Simon wanted to invest himself. If you don't have enough funds, you can go to Nancy's side. Simon still has more than $3 billion in liquidity, which is not bad for this small amount of money. Taking advantage of the current financial tsunami, the internet market needs to be copied. Also, Alibaba, Yahoo, SoftBank and Alibaba's original shareholders are discussing the recovery of some of the shares held by Yahoo. You can talk about this. Phoenix Fund is willing to invest and see if it can deduct more Alibaba shares. RB, when you go to see Masayoshi-san, SoftBank's attitude is very important, Simon said. Whether it is Yahoo or SoftBank, as long as it can deduct the shares, it is good. It wasn't long before Adam Root left the hotel and got to work. Sitting on the sofa, looking at the Seoul Tower on Namsan outside the window, Simon thought about all kinds of Korean entertainment circles. Black enough, the Zhang Ziyin incident just broke out this year, which can be said to have caused a ripple in the Korean entertainment industry. After the financial crisis in 1998, Korean films abolished the film censorship system, established a film rating system, and also opened up a foreign film quota system. This led to the outbreak of the baldhead movement of Korean filmmakers in 1999. However, under the operation of the Film Promotion Committee, the highest non-official film organization in South Korea stipulated a compulsory screening system for local theaters, which is all theaters in South Korea. Korean movies are broadcast 146 days a year until 2006, under the lobbying pressure of the MPAA. President Lee Jae-woo proposed to revise the compulsory film release system, reducing the annual number of local film release days from 146 days to 73 days. The large-scale invasion of Hollywood has indeed further promoted the development of Korean domestic films in Korean industry. The formulation of the film rating system has greatly promoted the development of Korean films, and the film obligatory screening system has also ensured that local Korean films last year, Mama Mia and Iron Man, developed by Xinghe Pictures, were both 4th and 5th in South Korea's annual box office charts. There are only 3 Korean movies in the top 10, and the rest are Hollywood movies. When Simon came to South Korea, he must have certain expectations for the Korean market. After all, the entertainment industry in South Korea is still relatively developed. Not only Xinghe Pictures, but also Xingchen Records will not let go of the Korean music market. In terms of records, both RB and Korea have a good market, especially RB, which has always been the largest market after North America. On 8.10, Thor, produced by Marvel Pictures, a subsidiary of Xinghe Entertainment, had its media premiere at the CGV Cinema in Seoul, South Korea. In the evening, a red carpet meeting with the main creator was held in the shopping plaza where the cinema is located. Thor director Kenneth Branagh brought the film's main actors Anne Hathaway, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston to the red carpet. At the moment, in the cinema lounge, Simon and Joe Lixon are chatting with Lee Jae-hyun, chairman of South Korea's CJ Group. CJ, the four major film distribution companies in South Korea, CJ Entertainment, Lotte Entertainment, Showbox, New, and CJ's film and television business have always been good, and their CGV theaters are also very strong. Mr. Parker, Zinghae Cinema Company can completely cooperate with our CGV cinema. Our strength in Korea is very strong, Lee Jae-hyun, as the chairman of CJ Group, came to entertain Simon in person, of course, to strengthen the cooperation with Hollywood upstarts in film. After all, CJ Group is also a large consortium in South Korea. CJ Entertainment is only the entertainment division of the group. As the eldest son of Samsung founder Lee Mwang-hee, Lee Jae-hyun is not in charge of Samsung. He also wants to continue to grow after obtaining CJ Group. President Lee, aren't we cooperating with CJ on film distribution now? As for the cooperation in theaters, we can have a good chat with Ms. Jo, Simon said. The entertainment industry does exist like a hegemon, and when it invested in DreamWorks Pictures in the early days, it also spent a lot of money. South Korea has also been affected by the financial tsunami in the past 2 years. Many small and medium-sized film companies have gone bankrupt. Fortunately, with government support and the entry of some large investors, the film business has not been interrupted, Lee Jae-hyun said with a smile. Continue to speak, however, there are still many aspects of Korean films that need to learn from Hollywood, and Korean films also need to go to the world more. President Lee, South Korea has produced a lot of good films in just 10 years since the establishment of the film rating system. We, Zinghae Films, have always attached great importance to the Asian market, and Korean films are among them. I believe that our future cooperation will become more and more important. More and more, Joe Lixon said at this time. Lee Jae-hyun's purpose must be to hope that Zinghae Pictures films will be handed over to CJ for exclusive distribution in the Korean market, and even hope to obtain distribution rights in other regions of Asia. However, South Korea is an important market in Asia with a population of 50 to 60 million. It is not easy to obtain exclusive distribution rights if the distribution rights are similar to Hong Kong or Taiwan. It is good to cooperate with local film distribution companies, but in the important market, Joe Lixon definitely wants to establish the Korean branch of Zinghae International Pictures to release the Zinghae series of movies. Okay, there's a big reception for Thor tonight, remember to come, Lee Jae-hyun said, standing up and shaking hands with the two, because he was going out for the meeting. Then the three went out to the media hall outside for an interview. Simon saw Anne Hathaway in a red dress at a glance. She was really sexy. She was talking with Kenneth Branagh, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston under the explanation of the host. Interact with fans. Simon, there's news over there that Paramount has negotiated with Phantom Studio for the film and television rights of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles at the beginning of the year, and has the intention to develop a live-action movie, Joe Lixon whispered next to Simon, and, the director candidate is optimistic about Michael Bay from Transformers. Got it, Simon nodded. Anyway, he had already realized it, and Transformers 2 was released in June this year, and the box office was much better than Thor. Korean movies seem to be getting better and better in recent years. Simon sighed. Yes, in some genres, it is indeed very deep. After the decline of Hong Kong movies, Korean movies seem to have risen. Joe Lixon, as a Chinese, is also helpless. Simon didn't say anything, and then he was interviewed by the media with Joe Lixon and Lee Jae-hyun. Chapter 309 Cooperation Opportunities. Are you guys coming to Korea for the first time to promote? In the banquet hall, Simon was chatting with some of the creators of Thor. It's really the first time here. We've been to Singapore and RB on this trip to Asia, and after Korea we're going back to the US, laughed director Kenneth Branagh, a British theater-turned-producer and director of the film Man. Thor was his first blockbuster. The Asian market is more and more important to us now, and there are still many opportunities to come here in the future. Simon smiled. Whether it was director Kenneth Branagh or starring Chris Hemsworth, actors such as Voss and Tom Hiddleston were previously unknown figures except for the heroine Anne Hathaway. The others are not well known afterwards. Simon and Anne Hathaway came to a quiet corner to chat. It's been a tough month when we go from North America to Europe to Asia and one campaign after another, Anne Hathaway complained. Oh, this kind of commercial blockbuster has a lot more publicity activities than literary and artistic films. Now because of the release of this Thor, don't you realize that your international reputation is getting bigger and bigger? Simon said with a smile. Touch the glass with a girl. Anne Hathaway smiled. It was true, and then asked, Simon, you won't come to Korea for this movie, will you? Come and relax, I stayed in China a while ago, Simon laughed. Anne Hathaway responded, I heard in the United States that Xinghai Entertainment is planning to join Warner Brothers, Paramount and DreamWorks Animation to build a large-scale movie-themed resort in China, and to compete with Disneyland in the Chinese market? Oh, you still care about this? Disney's Hong Kong Disneyland has already opened to receive tourists 2 years ago. Can my little Xinghai Entertainment be able to compete? Simon wants to play Disney to death, but Disney has long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. With a profound background, it will be impossible to start for a while. However, at least in the future, Disney's adult film should not have much success. Without the vault of Marvel, Disney's rise will be even more difficult. Really back to America tomorrow? Simon asked in a low voice. Yet, I have to go to San Francisco to shoot that Tai Chi. Anne Hathaway laughed immediately. I'm coming to find you tonight. Simon nodded, because Joe Lixon should have something to do. After Joe Lixon came over to greet Anne Hathaway, and after Anne Hathaway walked away, she said, the negotiation of Xinghai Entertainment's acquisition of Netflix has progressed. Xinghai invested $400 million in cash and shares. How many shares? Simon asked. 10% over there, too much, up to 8%. Cash can be given priority. Simon shook his head. If it wasn't for Netflix being a little more important, he really didn't want to give up so many shares at one time. Joe Lixon nodded and informed Simon, by the way, I have checked the flow of people in Hong Kong Disneyland in the last 2 quarters. The financial tsunami has indeed had a great impact. The number of people in Hong Kong Disneyland has decreased significantly, and the consumer goods market has also shrunk a lot. Joe Lixon continued. The box office of live-action movies, the home entertainment market, and the Disney resort consumption and derivatives market. Disney's current life is definitely not easy. If Robert Iger wants to buy Marvel Entertainment in my hands, the biggest purpose is to expand Disney Vacation. In the regional market, this person's vision is really not bad. Simon also had to admire Robert Iger, who had proved his vision before acquiring Pixar, and it was very prescient to see Marvel Entertainment. Marvel Entertainment's huge hero characters can provide a steady stream of IP, plus Disney's marketing channels in the global market, Disneyland's strong popularity. Marvel Entertainment will indeed be another pillar of Disney's takeoff. There is also good news. The negotiations between Disney and SH municipal government on the construction of Disneyland seem to be deadlocked again. In terms of scale, proportion of capital investment and division of interests, both parties are not satisfied with the requirements of the other party. Joe Lixon smiled. Road, I heard that Disney's conditions for SH city government are higher than Hong Kong's. Hong Kong Disneyland basically has the highest conditions among the 5 Disneyland parks at present. Perhaps the Hong Kong government has money and has agreed now that Disney has higher conditions for Shanghai. It is no wonder that there has been no progress in the talks for so many years. And Xinghai Entertainment joined hands with other Hollywood studios to boost the SH city government. Simon has thought about it a lot, but he doesn't believe that Xinghai Entertainment's proposal can shake the negotiation process between Disney and the SH city government. After all, no important projects are involved now. The two walked while chatting and met a few Korean filmmakers. Simon, this is Mr. Bong Joon-ho and Mr. Kang DQ, the Korean directors. This is South Korean actresses Kim Do-yeon and Sun Ye-jin. Joe Lixon introduced the 2 men and 2 women in front of Simon. For Simon, director Jang Dae-ga directed films such as Life and Death and The Taiji Flag Flying. Needless to say, Fang Jun-hyo is the mainstay of Korean directors. Memories of Murder and The Monster of the Han River are all his works. Kim Do-yeon and Sun Ye-jin are also leading actresses in the Korean film industry, especially Kim Do-yeon has a certain international reputation. Mr. Pike, good evening. Simon shook hands with several people. No matter what, Miss Kim is the best prize in the main competition section of the 60th Cannes Film Festival. The heroine, Joe Lixon said again. I know, I also went to the Cannes Film Festival in 2007, and I have an impression. Simon laughed. Thank you, Kim Do-yeon said excitedly after hearing this. After all, Simon Parker's name is too loud in Hollywood. Korea also has many excellent filmmakers, and I also hope to have the opportunity to cooperate with you in the future. Simon said with a smile. Isn't there 2 Hollywood movies with Korean actors this year? Yes, Little Night Knife starring Jun Ji-hyun was released in May, and Special Forces, The Rise of the Cobra starring Lee Byung-hun was released worldwide last week. Joe Lixon explained afterwards, several people talked about some American and Korean movies, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. Simon noticed Sun Ye-jin, who is very famous in the Korean film industry and has won many awards, but not much international fame. Miss Sun, do you have a movie based on Dong Kyu-yegu's novel about to be released recently? Simon came to Sun Ye-hun and asked with a smile, "Korean actress, Simon still likes Sun Ye-hun very much? She is beautiful and has good acting skills." Yes, it's a remake of the RB version of the movie, which will be released at the end of the year. It's adapted from Walking in the White Knight by Mr. Dong Kian-oya. Sun Ye-jin stroked her hair and laughed. She was a little nervous to be noticed by such a big man. Simon nodded and said, "Yes, I believe we have the opportunity to cooperate in the future." Chapter 310 European Debt Crisis. At night, in the Starluo Hotel, in Simon's suite, there are some Korean movie projects collected by Joe Lixon on the table. 20th Century Fox invested in a South Korean film, The Yellow Sea, directed and written by Luo Hongsun, and starred by Kim Yun-chik and Ha Jung-woo. It was the original cast of The Chaser, which was well received at the Korean box office last year. A new movie created by the people, 20th Century Fox has set a precedent for direct investment in Korean films, and it has a good eye for film selection. While Simon was flipping through some movie projects, Anne Hathaway came over in her pajamas after taking a shower. "Hey, I really work hard," said Anne Hathaway, standing beside Simon and pressing her shoulders. "It's very late. You're going back to the United States tomorrow, don't you rest early?" Simon said and stroked the back of the girl's hand. "Fortunately," Anne Hathaway said, clapping Simon's hand, and continued, "Thor's box office and reputation are not as good as Iron Man. Aren't you worried? Thor has already surpassed $400 million at the global box office, and it is estimated to be around $450 million at the time of drawing. Although it is not as good as the box office of Iron Man, the word of mouth is not comparable, but it is also a successful hero. Marvel has so many heroes, it is impossible for each of them to explode, but this achievement is alright. What Simon didn't say is that these are all steps for Marvel to expand the market, and we can continue to follow this rhythm in the future." Anne Hathaway immediately sat directly on Simon's lap and sighed. "Hey, the box office of Marvel movies is good. To increase the popularity, it is because there are too many limited terms?" Simon was stunned for a moment, then rubbed on the girl, and smiled. "Your role is still good. There is no action scene, and there are no special effects. Marvel as a whole, and the individual serves the collective, like those superheroes. The treaty is more detailed. However, you still have to pay attention to your own image. An actor's personal image will always affect the character." Simon remembers that Anne Hathaway seems to have a period of blackness on the internet. Although it is said that there are other capitals fueling the flames, the actor himself must also have certain problems. Anne Hathaway is now a member of the Marvel series, but there can be no more parallel worlds. As for the future of DC Entertainment, when director Christopher Nolan continues to film Batman 3, The Dark Knight Rises, who will be cast as Catwoman, Simon will not worry too much anyway. Anne Hathaway will definitely not play. After all, the protagonists of the Marvel series will sign contracts that they cannot play DC series characters during the contract period. "It's late, go and rest," Simon said and stood up, accidentally sweeping a document on the table to the ground. "I'll pick it up." Anne Hathaway smiled and crouched down. "Well, lone agent, Yuan Bin is the hero." Simon found that the document on the ground was actually the Lone Agent Project, and he picked it up. "Is this luck? Let's go." After Anne Hathaway put the documents on the table, Simon picked up the girl and walked to the bedroom. Thor was airborne in South Korea, and it won the championship in the first weekend of South Korea's weekly movie viewing, reaching 560,000 people, accounting for 36% of the market according to the average ticket price of about 7,000 won in South Korea. The box office is estimated to be 3.7 billion won, equivalent to almost $3.3 million. However, the main creator of Thor has also left South Korea and returned to the United States, so don't worry too much about CJ Entertainment. Simon was having a hearty lunch with Adam Root at an upscale restaurant in Seoul's JN District. Phoenix Fund got about 10% of NHN's shares. "Next, I will go to RB to buy NHNRB's shares as much as possible, but I don't have much liquidity," Adam Root said. "Bank loans to get money or sell some stocks to cash out, 10%, it's okay. NHN, I value the Naver section inside, the rest of the game section is not important," Simon still reminded Adam Root. After all, NHN will be split into Naver in the future, responsible for the portal website and communication and dating, etc. Business, NHN Entertainment is responsible for online games and other businesses. "Don't worry about the funds. I asked Nancy to mobilize $500 million to come to Hong Kong, and then you can continue to absorb the company shares we need as planned," Simon said with a smile. $500 million? Is that much money leaving the United States again? Adam Root was surprised the dollar has depreciated, and a lot of capital has left the United States in order to preserve the value of property. These Adam Roots know, and do not need to explain why not Europe? Adam Root asked with concern. After all, Europe's economy is much stronger than Asia's. Simon looked at Adam Root and decided to tell him, explaining, Nancy has attended several special private equity meetings on Wall Street. Wall Street is a little worried about the devaluation of the dollar. The strength of the euro will challenge the dominance of the dollar. Well, the European debt crisis? Adam Root guessed quickly. After all, the financial tsunami is global, and the challenge to the US dollar's hegemony must of course be resolved. The Fed's money printing machine has been non-stop, printing dollars to support Wall Street financial groups and hold up some toxic assets for the dollar to maintain its hegemony. The best course is for the Fed to stop printing dollars to improve the credibility of the dollar, but this is impossible. Then, use the second method, let the euro depreciate more, detonate the European debt crisis and put the euro into a big bear market. Greece is worrying. Wall Street will sell the euro aggressively at a certain time, and the nine-headed bird will also aggressively short the euro. Simon continued. The series of financial reports for joining the EU was done with the help of Goldman Sachs. Greece's current fiscal deficit exceeds the EU's regulations, Adam Root said, although he did not know how much Greece's fiscal deficit exceeded the EU's regulations, but it was definitely high. The specific time when Wall Street sells the euro at a specific time is when the Greek fiscal deficit is reported. When will the crisis be extended to the entire EU with Wall Street's credit rating downgrading Greece? Adam Root guessed 8 or 9, not far from 10. But it is indeed a good way to pass the crisis. I guess it will break out after the Greek election at the end of the year, and there will likely be a debt crisis in the EU next year, Simon said with a smile. After all, how can a Greece satisfy Wall Street's appetite? Adam Root nodded. This must be strongly supported and approved by the US government. Together with Wall Street, they are pitting Europe. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311, the Japanese version of the White Knight. Seoul, Walker Hill on Mount Atra in the northeast, is the largest casino resort and entertainment city in South Korea and a famous casino hotel in Asia. In the swimming pool outside the hotel in Walker Hill, Simon got up from the pool and took the towel handed by the waiter. What's the matter? Why did you come to see me today? Simon said, sitting on the beach chair next to him, with Joe Lixon sitting next to him. Hey, I don't want to disturb your vacation life either. Did I come here to discuss the movie with you? Joe Lixon smiled helplessly. Simon has been at Walker Hill for a few days. Isn't this place comparable to Macau? I didn't go to Macau when I was in Hong Kong before, so why would I come here after coming to Seoul? That lone man, does Xinghe Pictures really want to invest? Joe Lixon asked uncertainly. You should have seen it. That project is still okay. It's similar to the Korean version of The Killer Is Not Too Cold. It's a black action movie. Although the director is a newcomer, the actor is still somewhat famous in Korea. Simon laughed. Didn't 20th Century Fox set a precedent for direct investment in Korean films by Hollywood studios? This Lone Man is the first Korean film invested by our Xinghe Films. Okay. Since this is the case, Joe Lixon has no objection, and he has to spend time dealing with this movie again. After Joe Lixon left, Simon stretched, half lying on the chair and drinking champagne. After a while, I received a call from Adam Root. Acquired 17.5% of NHNRB from various investors, and is now the second largest shareholder in NHNB apart from Korea. Adam Root said on the phone. Yes, if you can go and see Masayoshi-san from SoftBank. Nancy is discussing with the Yahoo's executives. It would be good if SoftBank can also buy some Alibaba shares. It doesn't matter if the price is higher. The shareholder is Yahoo, followed by SoftBank. If you can pick out some are okay. I will look for an opportunity to visit SoftBank headquarters. We also have a little idea about the investment in the RB area. Boss, do you want to take the time to come to RB? Adam Root sent an invitation on the phone. If there is a chance, I will come over. After hanging up the phone, Simon continued to lie down again. NHN and his most important branch were all done, and the future internet market in Japan and South Korea had Phoenix Capital's position. In the evening, Simon received Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace from RB. I haven't seen each other for such a long time. Simon actually misses these two RB girls. This time I came to Korea to let them come over to play for a few days after dinner. Simon sat on the sofa with his arms around the two girls in the room, and said with some heart, "How is it? I haven't seen each other for so long. Do you miss me? Think." Kyoko Fukada responded quickly with a smile. As Haruka seemed a little shy, and nodded. Although the casinos here are not as good as the casinos in Macau, it's still okay, at least not in RB, Simon said with a smile. After all, RB doesn't have such a legal gaming industry now, but RB the pinball machine is very popular. Well, can we go to gamble later? Kyoko Fukada was surprised. After all, as an RB actress, she is still very famous. Will she be secretly photographed in Korea? Okay, you can play as much as you like tonight. If you win, it's mine. If you lose, it's mine. The privacy here is good, don't worry, Simon said, pinching on the girl's waist. Okay, I'll go take a shower first. Kyoko Fukada said, then stood up, kissed Simon's face again, looked at Haruka As, gave a strong look, and then went to the bathroom. As Haruka was wearing a white leaky shoulder t-shirt with a short skirt, which perfectly set off her good figure. Simon hugged As Haruka and sat on his lap. As Haruka was surprised, but Simon blocked his mouth and kissed. By the way, it seems that you have filmed the drama version of Walk in the White Night before, which was adapted from Kigo Higashino's novel, Simon asked after the kiss was over. Yes, in 2006, there seems to be a Korean version to be released this year. As Haruka explained. It's true that the Korean version will be released this year. Doesn't Darby plan to develop a movie version? Simon remembers that there is a Japanese version. As Haruka shook his head and said, there is no Japanese version of the movie. This Korean adaptation is the first movie version adaptation. Could it be that the Japanese version of the movie came out after the Korean version? Simon can't remember. Anyway, there is no Japanese version that is the best. Simon looked at Haruka As in his arms, then reached into the girl's t-shirt and felt the girl's 36F. He said with a smile, after that, I think I can invest in the Japanese version of Walk in the White Night movie version, and you will play the movie version. Ah, really? As Haruka's breathing was already a little heavy, but now she heard that she was going to invest in the movie version of Walking Through the White Night and starred herself, and she was even more excited. After all, White Night Walk has more depth than My Girlfriend is a Robot or Lady Headmarket. Two films released last year. Haruka As has already gained a lot of popularity with the release of My Girlfriend is a Robot and Girls Head Market. Don't worry, I will let the people in charge of the Asian market from Xinghe Pictures handle this matter, but the Korean version will be released at the end of this year, so the Japanese version will not start shooting until next year at the earliest. And, Simon also feels that while the Korean version has not been released yet, let Joluk Seung-chang won the adaptation rights early to create the RB movie version of Walking in the White Night. Compared with Fukada Kyoko, As Haruka's acting skills are much better than hers. After all, one is a pure vase, and As Haruka is really a person with acting skills. By the way, Faithful Dog Hachiko is being shown on RB these days. There are a lot of viewers, and the filming is very touching. The box office is very good, Haruka As said after thinking about it, and she and Kyoko Fukada also attended RB's premiere. Hachiko of Faithful Dog was originally a remake of RB movie, and the story is also a real story that happened in RB. Of course, the main box office market is also the RB region, Simon said with a smile. There is definitely no market in North America, and Europe may make money a little. By the way, do you think it looks good? Simon asked again. After all, the starring this time is not Richard Gere, and Simon is not too interested in such touching movies. As Haruka nodded and said, the film is well done, very touching and very artistic. Well, that's good, Simon said and kissed the girl's mouth again. Well, Kyoko Fukada, who had taken a bath, covered her mouth in surprise when she saw that the two people on the sofa were disheveled. Chapter 312. In the VIP room of the casino in Walker Hill, Simon was playing poker with Kyoko Fukada and Haruka As at the gaming table. Simon likes to play poker, but Kyoko Fukada and Haruka As, who are RB people, seem to be more interested in pachinko machines outside. Go, you can go play what you like, or go to the bar to drink some drinks. I will continue to play for a while, Simon smiled and said to the two women beside him. In Walker Hill Casino, there are many foreign guests, the highest proportion of RB people, and people of various languages. Well, let's play marbles, that's very interesting, Kyoko Fukada said and pulled As Haruka away with a giggle. Simon bet on the table for more than 2 hours and lost more than 100 million won. which is estimated to be $100,000. Standing up and stretching, Simon felt a little tired. It was time to leave. He got up and went outside to find Fukada Kyoko and Ace Haruka near the pachinko machine. They saw an old man chatting up with Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace. Obviously they didn't want to say anything to the old man. I'm Kim Kwang-soo, the president of CCM Entertainment in Korea. The two are also well-known idol actors in RB. If we want to develop in Korea, we can communicate well. Kim Kwang-soo, as a music composer, founded CCM Entertainment Agency, and this year launched a new girl group. At present, it seems that a major Korean entertainment company, is interested in CCM, and M Entertainment is an industry under CJ Entertainment. Kim Kwang-soo came to Walker Hill for recreation today, but he did not expect to meet two beautiful idol actors of RB. It seems that he came here to play, and there are no agents and assistants around. Such a good opportunity. We are not familiar with Korea, and we have no plans to enter the Korean market. Kyoko Fukada politely declined. Well, it's not a face to eat. Jin Guangzhu's face became gloomy. The two RB female idols are so disrespectful. CCM and CJ Entertainment have a lot of partnership. Do you know what CJ Entertainment means? Oh, what does CJ Entertainment mean? Before the two women could speak, they heard Simon's voice behind them. Simon came to the two women, looked at the old man, and smiled disdainfully. Your Excellency is Jin Guangzhu asked when he saw Simon, a European and American foreigner, who didn't lose his temper for a while. Simon waved his hand, directly ignoring Jin Guangzhu's question, and walked to Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace to hug each other. Go back. Looking at Jin Guangzhu again, he said with a smile, South Korean entertainment companies, are you pulling people like this? You? Kim Kwang-soo pointed at Simon, and said to the two women, artists should develop their careers well when they are young, and meet people who are helpful to the career of acting. There's a big Korean man eating in the private room next door. I can take you in to get to know each other. It's good for your career and not bad. Kim Kwang-soo didn't say anything serious. After all, Simon didn't know the details. Maybe he was also a foreign rich man, the big man in Korea? How old is it? Simon took an interest when he heard the big man, and it was nothing to do anyway, and looked at the two women. I'm also one of the top executives of Zinghe Entertainment in the United States. Why don't you take us to meet your so-called Korean bigwigs? Zinghe Entertainment? A major Hollywood entertainment group, and the parent company of Zingchen Records. Kim Kwang-soo asked. Simon nodded. It seems that Zinghe Entertainment is still a bit famous. Kim Kwang-soo looked at the two women again, with an expression of sudden realization. It is normal for the top management of Hollywood entertainment company to have two beautiful RB actresses to accompany him. However, it is definitely not as good as the big man in the private room. Let's go. Jin Guangzhu said and nodded and led the three of them to the next door. Sir, are we really going? Ace Haruka asked. Do you want to take a look? It is estimated that it is not a clan of a jebel or a high-level group of a large group. Simon smiled, but wanted to see how the chaebols in South Korea were playing. Kim Kwang-soo brought a three-tier luxurious box, and there were already a lot of people sitting in it. After entering, Jin Guangzhu quickly walked up to a man in his 40s in the main seat and whispered a few words. Afterwards, I introduced the man to Simon. This is Mr. Zhang Rongzhen, the vice chairman of the New World Department Store Group in Korea. This is Mr. Pike, a senior executive of Starcia Entertainment in the United States. These two are RB actors Fukada Kyoko and Ace Haruka. Hello, Mr. Pike. I didn't expect to meet the top executives of Hollywood studios because of the Thor that is being released. Zhang Rongzhen just heard what Kim Kwang-soo said. The Thor of Marvel Studios under Zinghe Entertainment, isn't it showing in Korea? Well, not bad. Simon was still thinking about how to prevaricate, but he didn't think others had already thought about it. After sitting down, Zhang Rongzhen glanced at Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace without a trace. Simon looked at the people in the circle, and basically didn't know any of them, but there were 3 or 4 beautiful young girls, and he didn't know if they were from the Korean entertainment industry. As for Zhang Rongzhen, Simon, of course, didn't know or heard of it either, but Shinsegae department store seemed to belong to the Samsung family. After a few chats between Zhang Rongzhen and Simon, they looked at the door, as if waiting for someone to come in. Mr. Zhang, where is Miss Sun? Jin Guangzhu asked. She went to the toilet, Zhang Rongzhen said, looking a little unhappy. Jin Guangzhu was silent. The Miss Sun in his mouth was Sun Yezhan, and Zhang Rongzhen was interested in Sun Yezhan and deliberately gathered here for dinner. Sun Yejin is the queen of the Korean film Blue Dragon Award and the Baeksang Arts Award. and has a certain status. It seems that Jang Rongzhen's favor is somewhat false and condescending. When Simon was bored and wanted to see how the so-called Korean big man played, the door of the private room was pushed open and Sun Yijin came in. Sun Yijin was a little troubled. After all, Jang Rongjin was also from the Samsung family, and his mother, Lee Myung-hee, was the fifth daughter of Samsung's founder, Lee Byung-chul. That is to say, Jang Rongzhen is the nephew of Samsung Group and Lee Jiaxi, and Lee Zixin is also a cousin. It is very embarrassing for such a person to show his favor. Mr. Zhang, I'm sorry, Sun Yijin greeted Jang Rongjin with a smile. Well, this is Mr. Pike. Sun Yezhun suddenly found Simon Pike on the other side, and was very surprised. Well, hello. Simon was also a little surprised, but continued, I met again after the last movie reception. It turns out that you know each other. That's good. Mr. Pike is a senior executive of a Hollywood studio, and Ms. Sun Yezhun is her top actress in Korea. Maybe there will be opportunities for cooperation. Also very normal. The top of the film company. Sun Yezhun looked at Jang Rongzhen and then at Simon. Isn't she the boss of Galaxy Entertainment? Simon looked at Sun Yezhun without a trace and shook his head slightly, signaling her not to say more. Chapter 313 I'm going to cry. Yejin, Xinghe Entertainment, where Mr. Parker works, is a major Hollywood film company. If you are interested in developing in Hollywood in the future, this is also an option. Jang Rongzhen just wanted to be with Sun Yezhun anyway, and it's good to have a Hollywood executive at that time. I can invest a sum of money here, Jang Rongzhen said, and from time to time asked Simon about Hollywood's movie investment. Well, the company has a lot of movie projects in recent years, and the demand for funds is also very large. Simon smiled. Listening to this guy's words was quite bluffing, and everyone around seemed to be envious of Sun Yezhun. Jang Rongzhen smiled, and at this time, Jin Guangzhou suddenly said to Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace, Mr. Zhang is from a Samsung Jebel. You two take the initiative and respect Mr. Zhang's wine. Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace looked at Simon blankly. After all, both the RB Consortium and the Korean chaebols could not afford to offend them. Of course, they knew that the Samsung chaebols were terrible. Jang Rongzhen became unhappy when he saw Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace looking at Simon, so disobedient. Jin Guangzhou was angry and said sternly, what are you two doing? Can Mr. Zhang be offended by you? Mr. Pike is just an employee of a Hollywood studio. The atmosphere was awkward for a while, but Simon said calmly, the two of them can't drink, so forget it. Jang Rongzhen didn't look at Simon, stared at Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace, and said, are you sure you don't drink? Well, Simon narrowed his eyes, bored to play with you, you took it seriously. Just as she was about to speak, Sun Yezhun picked up her glass and smiled, Mr. Zhang, these two are RB friends. Why don't I come to toast you? Sit down and drink later, Jang Rongzhen said impatiently. Kim Kwang-soo looked at Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace and said, it seems that you think Mr. Zhang has little power in RB. A beautiful woman beside Jang Rongzhen quickly patted his chest for him, squeezed his shoulders for him in a pleasing manner, and flattered, don't be angry, Mr. Zhang, it's just a RB woman, go away. Jang Rongzhen pushed away the woman beside him, angrily said, two little RB actors, dare to be disobedient. Looking at Simon, he asked, Mr. Pike, what is your relationship with these two RB actresses? Friendship. Simon said with a smile. Is that so? Why don't you let me entertain two RB friends these days? Jang Rongzhen said with a smug tone. At that time, if you have any financial needs or encounter difficulties in Korea, I can help you solve it. Oh, really? Simon looked surprised. Of course, I'll keep my word. Jang Rongzhen is happy. This is normal behavior. The ability of my family is still very good in Korea, although I don't believe in Lee K's current surname is Lee. When Jang Rongzhen was thinking about letting Fukada, Kyoko and Ace Haruka accompany him tonight, Simon said slowly, our company has a Marvel Studios project that requires an investment of about $200 million. Can Mr. Zhang solve it? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the private room was stunned. $200 million? How much Korean won? More than 200 billion won. And a Korean movie that exceeded 10 billion won is a big production. How much? How much? Jang Rongzhen thought he heard it wrong and asked again. $200 million minimum, Simon said, holding out two fingers. Jin Guangzhou opened his mouth wide, and Jang Rongzhen's face darkened. Mr. Pike, do you know how much $200 million is? The financial tsunami hasn't passed yet. Have you seen $200 million? Kim Kwang-soo stopped giving Simon face. This guy is here to make trouble. PFFT, It's only $200 million. Just a part-time worker, let's go. Zheng Rongzhen didn't bother to talk to Simon. After all, the New World department store group has no entertainment industry, and the $200 million is worth his entire net worth. Kim Kwang-soo also laughed, stood up impatiently and chased away, mocking, the liar who came from Europe and the United States to deceive the little girl. Let's go. Don't be embarrassed here. Mr. Zheng Rongzhen is the nephew of Samsung Group Chairman Lee Kun-hee. Mr. Zheng's mother is President Lee's sister. Simon smiled and stood up. So it was. Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace also stood up afterwards. He looked at Sun Yizhan and said, "Do you want me to take you away?" This. Of course Sun Yizhan knew how powerful the person in front of her was. The agent and her had already learned about it. This person is a big man with a net worth of over $10 billion. The richest man in South Korea does not necessarily have as much money as him at present. The new young tycoon in Hollywood. Well, Sun Yijin, you want to leave with this guy, are you sure? Zheng Rongzhen threatened. And you, it seems that I'm going to find a chance to talk to the person in charge of Xinghai Entertainment. Your performance is too bad, Zheng Rongzhen said and began to threaten Simon Hadhor. Simon couldn't help this guy, laughed. How can the Samsung family have an idiot like you? Immediately, Simon's eyes were sharp and said, what you just said, even Lee Jiangxi dare not tell me that. What are you? Zheng Rongzhen couldn't take it anymore, and his hand that pointed at Simon was shaking. Remember, the person you offended today is called Simon Pike. Go back and ask your mother or your uncle, or even your cousin, and ask who you offended, Simon said, patting Zheng Rongzhen's shoulder. Later taking Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace out, and when they passed by Sun Yizhan, he said, let's go, I'll say hello to Lee Jae-hyun. Sun Yijin nodded. Offending Zheng Rongzhen was really scary, but if there was Lee Jae-hyun as bailout, it wouldn't matter. How can New World Department Store Group compare with CJ Group? As for you, Kim Kwang-soo, right? And your entertainment company, don't worry, it won't be yours soon, haha. Simon smiled at Jin Kwang-soo again when he was at the door. Simon Pike. Zheng Rongzhen seemed to be a little confused. Could it be the founder of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, the person on the Forbes Young Rich list vice chairman? It's really him. Zheng Rongzhen, who was beside him, checked it with his mobile phone and handed it to him. It's really him. It's over. Zheng Rongzhen seemed to have collapsed, a drop of cold sweat streaming down his face. Simon Pike, who is it? Jin Guangzhou asked stupidly, and he was scared when he saw Zheng Rongzhen's appearance. You bastard. Zheng Rongzhen rushed over and slapped Jin Guangzhou in the face, then left the private room. Go back to his mother Lee Mingxi and ask about the situation. At this time, Jin Guangzhou also took out his mobile phone and started to check Simon Pike. After seeing the information introduced, the whole person was about to cry. Chapter 314 Girl Group. What's wrong? After walking out of the private room, Simon's bodyguards quickly surrounded Sun Yizhan for a while. Just now, Sun Yizhan wondered if these bodyguards were going to rush into the private room to do something. Just in case, although it's unlikely to use them, but who knows? Your South Korea is not an ordinary country. These chaebols are used to lawlessness, and they don't know what they did to me in my situation. That's not good, Simon said, shrugging his shoulders in a nonchalant tone. Mr. Pike, Sun Yizhan still hasn't recovered from her heart. After all, she's just an actor in the entertainment industry, but this involves the struggle of big shots. Simon looked at Sun Yizhan again, and between his thoughts, he asked, are you worried about retribution in the future? Sun Yizhan shook her head and said, retaliation is fine. I'm still somewhat related to the Korean film industry, so there will be some influence, but Zheng Rongzhen shouldn't specifically deal with me, a little guy in the entertainment industry. I think you're good. Want to open an independent studio? I can have people support you, and it will be good for you in the future, Simon suggested. Indie studio. Sun Yijin's eyes lit up. Do you support me? At present, my agency is also a small artist company, and the agency has been working together for many years. Simon nodded. You go back and discuss with a broker. The company is reorganized, and I will let people inject capital into it. In other words, when Simon and Sun Yijin suggested setting up a studio, Zheng Rongzhen also told his mother Lee Myung-hee and his cousin Lee Jae-hyun what happened at Walker Hill in the evening. In a mansion in the JN district of Seoul, Lee Jae-hyun was sitting on the sofa, opposite Lee Myung-hee and Zheng Rongzhen's mother and son. Mr. Park is very angry. Hey, things are a little difficult to handle. Lee Jae-hyun also looked embarrassed. He is a famous young rich man in the United States, and he has great energy in Hollywood and Wall Street. In fact, After the infighting between Lee Jae-hyun and the Samsung family, he has nothing to do with the Lee family, and there are even fewer aunts who are married to Lee Mingsi Zaxian. Is there no way? Lee Mingsi looked worried, how a mere New World department store group could compete with a powerful nine-headed bird capital on Wall Street tomorrow. Take Rongzhen to make amends, and let Jin Guangzhou follow along, and you have to prepare a gift, Lee Jae-hyun said, rubbing his chin with his hand. Then, what gift do you prepare? Zhang Rongzhen quickly asked. Kim Kwang-soo's small company has some artists in it, let's give it away. Lee Jae-hyun's CJ Entertainment actually has the idea of acquiring CCM's brokerage company and its meant merger, but now there is no need to prepare. As for Kim Kwang-soo, who has a good ability, should give up. On the other hand, Sun Yee-jin quickly found her manager, Kim Min-suk. Steam is just a small artist company. As a senior Korean manager, Kim Min-suk discovered Sun Yee-jin very early and has been working together for many years. This is very good. If you have the opportunity to enter Hollywood, it will be even better. Of course, Jin Min-shu supports it. After all, the most important artist in Steam's management company is Sun Ye-jin. Basically, she is asked about her main services. Therefore, it is definitely very welcome from Steam to receive capital support from Hollywood bigwigs. Hollywood. I really yearn for it, Sun Ye-jin certainly hopes. Song Hye-kyo seems to have also filmed a Hollywood movie Fetish in 2007. Well, are you talking about the one that debuted at the Busan International Film Festival last year? You just don't know when it will be released. Of course Kim Min-suk knows. After all, it's also a Hollywood-made movie. Although it is only a low-cost independent film in Hollywood, the attraction of Hollywood is very strong for many big countries, not to mention small countries such as South Korea. In the evening, in Simon's suite in Walker Hill, Lee Jae-hyun brought Lee Myung-hee, Yoon Rong-jin's mother and son, and Kim Kwang-soo to come here to apologize. Simon leaned on the sofa. Jin Guangzhou knelt directly in front of Simon, and Zhang Rongzhen himself bowed. Zhang Rongzhen is okay. Simon can clearly see the sweat on Jin Guangzhou's face, and he is really scared. On the coffee table next to the sofa, there is also a contract from the CCM artist agency. This is the gift that Lee Myung-hee bought from Kim Kwang-soo to make amends. Oh, coming to Korea this time has indeed given me an unpleasant experience. Get up, remember to keep a low profile in the future, you can offend anyone, Simon said lightly, then waved his hand casually. Thank you for your forgiveness, go away, Simon said immediately. Lee Mingsi and Zhang Rongzhen left the room quickly, and Jin Guangzhou also stood up and exited the room after Lee Zaxin and the other three left. He shook his head and sighed. Although Rongzhen is my cousin, his aunt is already married. The Shinsegae department store group and the chosen hotel that were assigned to him are actually from Samsung Chaebalzo. South Korea's Samsung is very famous, but the internal struggle of your Lee family seems to be more exciting. Fortunately, the influence of Samsung Group has not been affected too much, otherwise Wall Street will not be happy. Simon smiled. Laugh. Isn't the most powerful infighting in Samsung is the struggle between Lee Myung-hee and Lee Jae-hyun's father and son, and the current leader, Lee Kun-hee's family. Wall Street Capital controls more than 60% of Samsung Group's shares, and Samsung's lawlessness in South Korea is because of a good father. Plum Jae-hyun smiled awkwardly and explained, it's nothing, now the CJ Group is developing well, and the relationship with Samsung is also complicated, but the CJ Group is under my control. By the way, this is? Simon said, picking up the contract in his hand and asking. The CCM Entertainment Company, founded by Kim Kwang-soo, cultivates some idol artists, participates in some singing programs, releases albums, shoots commercials, etc. Lee Jae-hyun explained for Simon. Simon nodded. The idol artist seems to be able to merge with the agency of Sun Yee-jin, and then give Tong Lee Adam a toy to play with. After Lee Jae-hyun left, Simon opened the various introductions about the CCM brokerage company on the side of the contract. Well, the Terra Group, a girl group that has just debuted for less than a month this year, turned out to be created by this guy. Simon soon saw the 6-member girl group inside interesting, then Simon called Tong Lee in Beijing to talk about it, and by the way, let her take time to visit South Korea these days. It's a pity that girls' generation is the trump card of SM Company. Does Simon think it should be a Korean girl group? Hey. Chapter 315 Korean RNA. After Simon waited in Seoul for 2 days, Tong Lee came over, and at the same time Kyoko Fukada and Haruka Ace also returned to RB in Seoul. A nanny car is driving on a highway in the LS district. Simon and Tong Lee are on their way to the CCM Company. This is just a Korean artist agency, and it mainly develops some male and female idol groups. Tong Liao has already researched this company. It didn't cost anything anyway. Consider it your Galaxy Culture subsidiary in South Korea. Maybe you will vigorously expand your business in South Korea in the future? Simon smiled, and it was someone who apologized anyway. Tong Liao shook her head, then frowned slightly and said, I have no experience or ideas on idol cultivation, and I don't know much about the Korean entertainment industry. There are a lot of things going on in the Korean entertainment industry this year. The suicide note of the female artist's suicide, etc. has affected many Korean business leaders and some government officials. Don't worry, your focus is not on the Korean side. On the Korean side, if you don't want to worry about it, you can just play it, and it's the same to find a manager to take care of it for you. Simon definitely doesn't like these things. Not even bothered to take care of it. Upon hearing this, Tong Lily hurriedly shook her head and said, that won't work, then you must pay attention to it. By then, Galaxy Entertainment may expand to this side. Simon smiled and didn't speak until the car stopped in front of a 3-story building on the commercial street in LS District. CCM employees are already at the door waiting for the arrival of the new boss. After Simon and Tong Liao got out of the car, a local Korean manager quickly led them into the company and introduced them. Tell her, CCM will be a subsidiary of China Galaxy Culture Entertainment in the future, and she is the major shareholder of Galaxy Culture, Simon said, waving his hand casually. Okay. The manager was sent by Lee Jae-hyun to take over. Subsequently, Tong Liao began to understand the company and its artists under the leadership of the manager. Of course, Simon came to the president's room to rest. After all, the environment of this small company was really despised by Simon. I'm Sun Ye-jin, is that Mr. Parker? Simon suddenly received a call from Sun Ye-jin. It's me. What's wrong, Ms. Jin Shumin, the person in charge of the company, is very grateful for the opportunity to cooperate with you. I wonder when you will have time to see us? Sun Ye-jin's tone on the phone was very respectful. Now, come over to CCM Entertainment and get to know the person in charge. She is also a Chinese actress, Simon said quickly. Okay, we'll be right over here. At this moment, Tong Liao brought her assistant and others to the training room accompanied by the manager and the manager of CCM company. These are all trainees? Tong Liao pointed to a few girls in a room. These guys have already debuted, and the trainees are in a room over there. A company representative hurried forward to explain. This is a 6-member girl group that the company has just launched, called Terra, and the response is not bad. The former president is planning to create a group similar to Girls' Generation. So that's the case. I know Girls' Generation, and there seem to be a lot of fans in China. Tong Liao then entered the practice room accompanied by everyone. President Jin has sold the company to this Ms. Tong Liao. In the future, CCM company will be owned by Ms. Tong Liao, and she is also the chairman of CCM company, the executive said to the 6 surprised girls below. The president is good. The 6 girls in terror hurriedly bowed their luggage after hearing this. Although they have not yet recovered from the surprise that the company has changed hands, this is the new president. It's alright. Tong Liao knows that these are the characteristics of South Korea and RB. Then they left the practice room, leaving the Terra group looking at each other in dismay. Lee Ju-ri, Ha Moon-young, Park Hyo-min, Park Ji-yun, Park So-yun, Jian Bo-lam and others really didn't know what happened. Will we? Lee Ju-li asked in a low voice with a confused look. Why the company was sold? For no reason it shouldn't, no matter why President Jin sold the company, but our group has already debuted, and the company has spent a lot of resources and energy on us, so we won't just give up just like that. Xian Enjing, as the captain, still a little calm after Tong Liao quickly got acquainted with the company under the leadership of the manager, she also came to the president's office. Hey, the president is here. Tong Liao heard Simon's laughter as soon as she entered the door. Well, just as Tong Liao looked puzzled, the 2 women quickly stood up and walked over to bow. Hello, President Tong, I'm Sun Ye-jin. Hello, President Tong, I'm Sun Ye-hun's manager. Jin Shumin, Sun Ye-hun. Tong Liao took a closer look at this beautiful woman who is about the same age as her. It was indeed the Korean artist Sun Ye-hun. Sun Ye-jin has an agency dedicated to her acting career, and she's ready to sign a contract here, Simon explained. Also, this agent has some connections in the Korean entertainment industry. If you don't have time to take care of this company, you can make her the president. Well, I look at this company, it seems that there is nothing, just a girl group that just debuted, and there are no actors. Tong Liao also smiled, very helpless. Let's change the name, let's call it RNA Entertainment in the future. With a new boss, there will be a new look, too. Simon said, stood up, walked to Sun Ye-jin and the 2 of them. It's also a lot of experience to have your agent be the president. Subsequently, Simon and Tong Linai left the company in the restaurant. Tong Linai was still thinking about the new company RNA Entertainment and had no clue. Don't think too much, RNA now has Sun Yizhan to join, and can earn a wave of topicality. Anyway, it will develop in the direction of film and television in the future, but it can be reformed slowly. Simon suggested give up the idol artist part? That's the company's main business at the moment. Tong Linai smiled. Don't give up, I mean you can increase your investment in film and television. With an artist, you can make some Sino-Korean co-productions or something, right? Simon laughed. By the way, I have already invested nearly 30 billion won in RNA, enough for you to play around for a while. Hey, I still have money. Tong Linai smiled, but didn't say anything. The company's environment is too bad. I want to change to something better, which can also attract people. Then I will see if Jin Schumann has any projects. I will attract a few talents first. Tong Linai seemed to be talking to herself. It is estimated that it has entered a state. After all, the development of galaxy culture is very good. Now that there is Korean RNA Entertainment, it should be developed. Chapter 316. The crisis is over. Simon, who was lying in the big bathtub while taking a bath while admiring the night view of the Han River, took a sip of the champagne beside him. These days are indeed too leisurely. South Korea has a population of 60 million, and it is also an important market for the Asian entertainment industry. The people of Xinghe Group will not say that their boss is not doing his job properly. Suddenly, the phone rang. Simon looked at the received message, and the corners of his mouth curled up unconsciously. Netflix is done, and privatization will begin soon. It's time to go back to China, Simon said, and got out of the bathtub on his own. He originally planned to harm RB, but it seems that he can only wait for the next time. The next day, Simon said goodbye to Tong Linai and Joe Lixon, and flew directly to the United States on his own business jet. Simon is not worried about the privatization process of Netflix. Now, of course, Simon is worried about the 20% stake in NBC Universal Entertainment in the hands of Vivendi Group in New York in September. The climate is still very good, about 20 degrees is just right. New York, Brooklyn, the new Nets home stadium under construction, the center gymnasium has already taken shape. Let's go. Simon just watched for a while and left here with his assistant Martha Cosby into the commercial van. Dick Cook has officially joined Xinghe Entertainment and signed a contract with Xinghe Entertainment. As the chairman of Xinghe International Pictures, he is responsible for the overseas distribution of Xinghe Entertainment's film and television. Of course, his current main direction is Europe and Australia. Netflix has officially submitted an application for delisting. Ninebird Fund's current holdings in Amazon, Google, Apple and other companies have greatly increased. Following Martha Cosby's report, Simon asked occasionally while listening. However, after all, Martha Cosby is mainly responsible for the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, and the report on Xinghe Entertainment is not so detailed. Simon will have to wait for Laura Collins to report in more detail. Rubbing his temples, Simon leaned on the chair in the car and had some headaches. Now the family has indeed achieved a great deal. By the way, the naming contracts of the home stadiums of the Dolphins and the Nets have been dealt with, right? Simon asked. After all, Ninebird Sports is under the Nine Birds Fund. No problem. The Miami Dolphins are going to do a renovation next year, and the contact with Wells Fargo is very harmonious, and the Nets are also booked to move into the new stadium before the start of the 2010-2011 season next year, Martha Cosby said. Respond quickly. That's good. You can help me make an analysis table about the various teams in the Premier League, focusing on those clubs that may be sold, and the report is based on the big market, Simon said. After thinking for a while, Martha Cosby was stunned for a moment, and said in surprise, the Premier League, the English football club? Boss, are you going to buy a Premier League football club? Simon nodded and said, I have had this idea for a long time, but Jitao Sports will become the overlord of sports entertainment in the future. Understood. At the same time, the Wasteland sci-fi film District 9 released by Xinghe Pictures was released in North America and received a box office of $37 million in its first week compared to the $30 million production cost. District 9 is another successful film. New York, Hilton Hotel, a large entertainment party is being held. Men and women from the film industry, the news industry and the fashion industry, plus a lot of company executives and investors. It seems that the U.S. economy is really recovering. Simon smiled and joked with Peter Jackson, the great director beside him. No matter when, there's always no shortage of this kind of activity in the United States, isn't it? The success of the 9th District, Peter Jackson is one of the producers, of course, is honored. By the way, is The Hobbit on hold again now? Simon asked, well, you know, MGM is in a serious crisis right now, and Warner Brothers and New Line Pictures have no problem, but MGM can't get the money right now. Peter Jackson smiled helplessly. After all, MGM owns the overseas distribution rights for the series. Oh, it's really a mess. Aren't Warner Brothers and Disney interested in MGM? Simon continued to ask. Simon, what about you? It's not just the two of them who are interested in MGM, and it's not the entire MGM that you are interested in, Peter Jackson said, and made a funny face at Simon. Ha. If MGM's price is lower, I'd be interested in taking over. After all, their debts are too high, Simon said. It would be a lie to say that he has no interest. MGM's huge film library plus the 007 series copyright, it is its greatest asset. Well, you tycoons think about this kind of thing. I'm just a director. I don't have any opinion on this, Peter Jackson said and took a sip of wine. After the two chatted a few more times, Simon seemed to see Charlize Theron walking towards him. Hi Charlie. Simon, good evening. The two hugged, and Simon played a friendly match with Charlize Theron. Anyway, Charlize Theron's light-colored evening dress set off her tall figure perfectly. I didn't expect to see you here again. Charlize Theron really hadn't seen Simon Pike for a long time. Just a few days after returning to China, National Super League. Has Hancock started filming? Simon said with a smile. Charlize Theron nodded and responded, it's been over a month and the main location is New York. Also, Burning Plains is coming out next week, and the premiere is right here in New York. Burning Plain? Simon was stunned for a moment, and then he thought that this formalist film, filmed in 2007, was previously invested by Summit Entertainment after Xinghai Pictures acquired Peak. Except for Twilight, all others were resold to other film companies. For example, the North American release of Chibi, the North American release of Astro Boy, etc., have already been released. Which company releases Burning Plains now? Simon asked. After all, Simon couldn't remember so many things well. Venus Films. This film participated in the Venice Film Festival last year and won a performance award, Charlize Theron said and smiled. It's normal for Venus Pictures to not take it seriously, and it has already been released in many overseas places, and the box office is not very good. There is a certain reputation, otherwise Venus Pictures is estimated to continue to be hidden. It turned out that it was still under the banner of Xinghai, and Simon didn't say much. The film distribution was in accordance with the company's regulations. It's good to see it in North America now. Chapter 317. Netflix and AMP Future. Manhattan, in Greenwich Village, a famous New York residential area west of Washington Square, in an inconspicuous two-story villa. Charlize Theron and Simon Pike have been here since they left the party. This is one of Charlize Theron's properties in New York, and Simon took a look at the interior and it's not bad. There are really a lot of celebrities who like to live here, Simon said, taking a cup of coffee from Charlize Theron. It's very quiet here. My mother mainly lives in Brooklyn. I'll live here when I go back to New York, Charlize Theron said with a smile, and continued, however, I mostly live in Los Angeles. Simon sat on the sofa, stretched out his hand to loosen the tie around his neck, and leaned on the sofa. Charlize Theron walked to the sofa and sat next to Simon, smiling. Is this just for rest with me tonight? Rest? Simon looked at the beautiful Charlize Theron beside him, and stretched out his hand to wrap his arms around the girl's waist. The other hand gently stroked the girl's face and rubbed it, and said, it really is a South African diamond. Whether it is face or body, it is indeed impeccable. Afterwards, the two of them were thunderous, picked up the girl and entered the room. Xinchen Records, the music business division of Xinghai, has tapped Taylor Swift, Adele, Di Gaga and Katy Perry and other fast-rising singers because of Simon's cheating development. The share is getting higher and higher. Even Justin Bieber released his first single last month, which attracted a lot of attention. At this moment, Simon is standing in the office of the Nine-Headed Bird headquarters, watching the flow of people on the streets of Manhattan. Outside the window, Laura Collins stood behind and reported on some important work. He said that Tim Cook has already contacted the Vivendi Group. So what is their attitude towards our acquisition of the 20% stake in NBC Universal? Simon asked back. The attitude is ambiguous. After all, they have a deal with GE, Laura Collins explained with a smile. In the final analysis, it's still the price. They think that the current valuation of NBC Universal is $30 billion, 20% is $6 billion, both cash and shares can be exchanged, and they seem to be very interested in our Star Records. After all, Universal, the record is still Vivendi. Laura Collins continued, $30 billion. Simon himself felt similar. After all, NBC Universal is also a long-established entertainment group. If you buy the entire NBC Universal, plus its debt, It will involve more than $50 billion in acquisitions. Isn't Vivendi going to withdraw from the film business? Don't give them the shares of Xinghai Pictures, but Xinjian Records can discuss the exchange of shares. Simon frowned again. Xinghai's shares are very important. Can't too fast is always in the form of a stock exchange. Use cash if you can. After all, the real war is the 80% stake in NBC Universal held by GE. Let's inform you, the company will send a team to make formal contacts, acquire 20% of NBC Universal's shares in Vivendi's hands, and at the same time let Nancy operate on Wall Street through the nine-headed bird fund, and prepare for a large-scale corporate bond issuance through banks. Simon can't wait any longer. What if GE really sold NBC Universal to Doncaster? Xinghai Entertainment does have a lot of funds at present, but there are also many follow-up movie plans, and the development of the distribution market also needs funds. $6 billion. Are we really going to buy the 20% stake? Laura Collins is still a little unsure. After all, it took a lot of money to buy Netflix. $6 billion, that's the valuation. If Vivendi wants cash, it's up to $5 billion. Simon said and smiled. The focus was on the 80% held by General Electric. Simon was just worried that he could not compete with Doncaster Group. Got it. Looks like I'm busy, Laura Collins said with a smile, before exiting the office. What is the confidence? It's not the box office explosion of Xinghai film this year, the action film Hurricane Rescue, the fantasy romance Twilight, and Marvel's adaptation of Thor, the R-rated comedy Hangover, plus the Wasteland sci-fi District 9 was released soon, and, in September, Xinghai Pictures has another comedy movie, Sandra Bullock's Fake Marriage. Although it is only September, the reputation of Xinghai Pictures is currently at its peak, catching up with Warner Brothers and Paramount. One of them released Transformers 2 this year, and the other released Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Netflix. Simon must not let it go after he takes Netflix in his hands, and he must embark on the road of self-made drama. Simon immediately took out his mobile phone and called Sonia Roman. Sonia, how about the film and television adaptation rights of George Martin's novel A Song of Ice and Fire? Simon asked. Hey, I heard that the old guy has a weird temper. I sent a producer to talk about it, but it seems that the talks have not been successful. The old guy values his work very much. Sonia Roman on the phone was also helpless. Based on a novel, the cost would be astronomical. Don't worry, find a few well-known producers to have a good talk. It doesn't matter if the script is high. I plan to use this A Song of Ice and Fire as Netflix's first self-made drama broadcast. Simon responded. As a Netflix self-made drama? Sonia Roman on the other end of the phone thought for a while, and then responded, okay, then I'll increase the production cost of the show. When do you want this show to air? By the end of the next year. It will take nearly 2.5 years to develop for you. I want to see that this is a grand and far-reaching epic masterpiece, Simon replied after thinking for a while. Okay, then I'm going to have a good chat with Reed Hastings. Afterwards, Simon hung up the phone, and of course Reed Hastings is now in charge of Netflix. However, of course he doesn't know much about film and television content, and is mainly responsible for the overall operation and expansion of Netflix with the backing of Xinghai Pictures. Netflix basically does not need him to spend high prices to find people to shoot film and television series. Although Netflix is still the first streamer to make homemade dramas, Simon will not let the market be disrupted. A Song of Ice and Fire, as the self-made pioneering work of Netflix's streaming media, will definitely have a greater and wider influence than House of Cards. When I think about it, I am excited. Then I will buy NBC Universal again and split it up. There's NBC in the TV broadcasting network, Netflix in the streaming media, and Xinghai Pictures behind it, which has no shortage of IP. Still can't play Disney, Warner Brothers or 20th Century Fox? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318. Simon and Ivanka chat with Bruce Ratner, head of the Forest City Group, at the Long Island Golf International Club in Southampton, New York. Long Island is an important landmark of the first phase of the Atlantic Plaza project. The construction period of the center gymnasium has passed halfway. The Nets relocation should never go wrong. Haha, Simon, don't worry, the Nets relocation is a certainty. The Dolan family can't resist no matter how capable they are. They stopped me from building a new gym in Manhattan, and there's nothing they can do here in Brooklyn. Bruce Ratner. Of course, no problems are allowed. Although the Nets have been sold, The Atlantic Plaza project still relies on the influence of the Nets as for James Dolan, who owns the Knicks and Madison Gardens. The Ratner family is a veteran of New York's real estate tycoons. The complaints in New Jersey seem to have been very big. Simon smiled helplessly. After all, he is the boss now, and the people in New Jersey seem to have a lot of opinions on him. New Jersey is not a big state. It's hard to have a mainstream team. Now you want to move it. Of course people over there have opinions. It's normal. Ivanka on the side interrupted after listening to it. It stopped slowly, and now the Nets' results are getting better and better. Simon, your vision is really good. Although Bruce Ratner doesn't care much about the team's results, the contrast is too conspicuous, isn't it? After all, the Nets didn't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals last season. Okay, talk to you young guys, I'm going to take a break, Bruce Ratner said, putting away the club and walking away. By the way, the renovation of the Doral Golf Resort in Florida has begun. You can go and see it when you have time, Ivanka said after looking at Simon. Hey, my father seems to like that golf club too. Oh, your father wants it too. Simon smiled. Your family seems to have quite a few golf resorts. Unfortunately, there is no money now. Ivanka knew very well about her company that she could not get the money to buy it at that time. Well, Simon was non-committal. After all, Simon himself won't spend too much time on real estate, and some high-end villas and the like can be hard. Are you really not interested in real estate development? The land near the Miami Dolphins Stadium is good, Ivanka asked again. Isn't your home co-developed with a Vornado real estate company? I'm just interested in the stadium assets. The NFL season is about to start, and there will be a new round of renovations before next season, Simon said. Of the development of those, the apartment building is really not interested. The money is slow, and the investment is large. Hey, I can't compare with you. You really don't like those. Now you're zing. Hey, entertainment is too popular in Hollywood, and the nine-headed bird fund is also famous on Wall Street. Ivanka really thinks Simon is too good, at this age, have this kind of wealth. In addition, Simon's nine-headed bird sports is now laying out the sports market. Both the NBA and the NFL have teams in the big market in their hands. Status, money, honor, and fame. What's the downside, right? Moreover, he was born in the entertainment industry, and there are too many gossip female stars around him. By the way, you and Murdoch's wife Wendy Deng seem to have a good relationship. There's a business reception in Manhattan tonight. Rupert Murdoch and I will be there. You go with me. Simon laughed. Ivanka nodded. In fact, she has less contact with Wendy Deng now. After all, after she met Simon, she received more attention than when she was with Wendy Deng in Hollywood. Although Simon Pike is not as good as Rupert Murdoch, but now the media attention to Simon is higher than Murdoch. They are also Hollywood tycoons. One is very old, one is a handsome guy, one is coordinating behind the scenes, and one can still fight on the front line of the movie. Then, Simon hugged Ivanka and went to the restroom in a suite in the club. Simon sat on the sofa after taking a shower and browsed the FTC seminar just held in New York. Rupert Murdoch made a long speech at the conference, mainly related to the direction of media freedom. Simon looked at the introduction on the computer, and unconsciously tapped his fingers on his knees. Well, this is. Ivanka, who had just taken a shower, came over in her pajamas and sat beside Simon. The business party at night is probably about all kinds of entertainment and business receptions. In fact, I don't have much interaction with Rupert Murdoch, but we can chat tonight. Simon mainly developed too fast. Hollywood and Wall Street rushed and stunned everyone with incredible speed. Rupert Murdoch is the top tycoon in Hollywood, and News Corporation is definitely the largest in the world. This kind of person, Simon still has some interest in researching. After all, News Corporation has a strong control over public opinion. Rupert Murdoch in the video, as always, mocked the serious media, saying, I can't count the number of newspapers I've visited where their journalism awards fill the room and their circulation plummets. This shows that editors are doing news for themselves, not news that makes sense for their clients. Awesome, Simon said, closing the laptop and turning his head to looking at the plump Ivanka beside her. She asked with a smile, are the elites in America all about money? Ivanka smiled and said, you can't ask me this kind of thing. Your current net worth is the top group of people in the United States. Alice, Simon sighed, hugged the girl into his arms, and reached in to feel the majesty of Ivanka. It's been a few years, and Simon has adjusted to the life of the rich, but too many rich people in America lead a life of parties, saunas and sports. Well, Simon, do you have any plans to get married now? You have such a big career, don't you think about getting married? Ivanka, who was half lying in Simon's arms, asked out of breath. Married? Simon shook his head while rubbing against a girl, as if he didn't want to bring up the topic. I'm still young, I still have a lot of things to do, and I don't want to get married yet. Simon really didn't think about getting married. After all, he was living a new life. How can you get married so quickly when you have the capital that will harm Europe and the United States? You can develop regardless of everything. The Sea of Stars. Chapter 319. Simon. Xinghe Pictures results this year are really impressive. Rupert Murdoch talked to Simon with a smile at this moment. It is in the banquet hall on the first floor of the Empire State Building in Manhattan. Looking at Rupert Murdoch, who is in his 70s and 80s opposite him, Simon actually had a lot of ideas in his heart. News Corporation's media tentacles are really not small. Australia is basically his one word, and the British The Times, The Sun and so on are also his. Wall Street Journal, America International News, New York Post and so on are also his. Ice Age 3, Night at the Museum 2, and Wolverine are all successful films. 20th Century Fox's performance this year is not bad. At the end of the year, James Cameron's blockbuster Avatar will be released. The release this year is a big event for the movie. Simon also laughed. I'm getting older, and I don't have much energy to focus on the film business now, but 20th Century Fox has always been a Hollywood studio, and the film business is also a big part of News Corp, Rupert said. T. Murdoch said, looked at Simon and continued to speak. Moreover, because of the impact of online news on the internet recently, the cold winter of the newspaper industry has come to lead. Simon looked at the old guy, and said this after talking to himself. Don't you have some nutritious words, Mr. Murdoch? I have been in Hollywood for a few years, and my grades are not bad. Xinghe Pictures also has enough responsibility and determination to undertake Hollywood's obligations. Simon said. This old guy deliberately asked himself to chat. It must be about Hollywood things to talk about. Simon, you should have heard about the DVD piracy of the Wolverine movie released in May? Rupert Murdoch said seriously. Simon nodded and said, I know this. Before the release in April, the DVD version of the movie was downloaded on the internet, and 20th Century Fox also fired a person in charge of the press and publicity department for this. This incident is not small, and it is a very serious incident of piracy. Of course, Simon pays attention to things related to his own interests. Hollywood has been lobbying the government to revise the anti-piracy law and increase the punishment for piracy. Now that the internet is developing rapidly, we have to join forces to strengthen supervision and management in this area. After all, now Xinghe Entertainment is in the market share of film and television is getting bigger and bigger, Rupert Murdoch said with a smile. The influence of the MPAA on the White House still needs your help. Simon shook his head helplessly. The meaning was obvious. The MPAA hopes that it can do more to lobby Washington. After all, the current president Mario is very familiar with himself. Helplessly smiled bitterly. Of course I fully support the fight against piracy. After all, it is our own interests that are lost. I also know that you hope to be able to lobby the president through me, but you should also know that President Mario is supporting internet technology. You can't see the attitude towards Hollywood. Rupert Murdoch stepped forward and patted Simon on the shoulder, laughing. Hollywood is the controller of public opinion. The promotion of American culture cannot be separated from Hollywood, and it is very important to ensure the interests of Hollywood. Then Rupert Murdoch walked away from Simon. Simon narrowed his eyes. Because of the rise of streaming media, online copyright disputes are no longer a secret. At the beginning, Simon sold YouTube to Google. The biggest reason is that YouTube is involved in too many copyright disputes, which is a natural opposition to Hollywood. Google's lawsuit over YouTube and the big Hollywood media conglomerates hasn't stopped. There is still a legal battle between Google and Viacom over copyright issues. Hollywood versus Silicon Valley. It's really an unsolvable problem. It's true that Mario can't be too partial to Silicon Valley anymore, Simon said secretly. In any case, these are directly related to the interests of Xinghe Entertainment, so it's time to find a chance to remind him. Rupert Murdoch is a veritable Republican supporter and has little fondness for the Democratic president. Just as Simon was thinking, a shout interrupted Simon's meditation. Hi Simon, good evening. Oh, Mr. Soros. Simon turned his head and turned out to be George Soros. The two had only met a few times. It's still good for you young people, full of energy, unlike old men like us who can't keep up with you. George Soros seemed to mean something this time. Many hedge funds on Wall Street have prepared ammunition. It seems that the EU will pay a certain price this time. Although Soros's voice was not loud, Simon also knew that this guy was talking about the European debt crisis. Mr. Soros, it's just a normal investment behavior. The debt of many EU members is indeed too high. No one can blame others. By the way, it seems that you have a lot of investment in China, Simon. Why is that? It's better not to invest there. Soros changed a topic. He liked investing in Huaxia would be a tragedy. Well, Simon was stunned. He had long heard that Soros had almost morbid hostility and targeting of China. Even the largest BlackRock Group cemetery fund invested in China was ridiculed by Soros and the media. BlackRock Collection Group, the world's largest cemetery investment fund, also known as the BlackRock Group. The BlackRock Fund was only a division of it earlier. Simon frowned, and then laughed. This is a real smile. Isn't George Soros semi-retired? Isn't the person in charge of the fund now the deputy before? Well, it's pretty wide, Mr. Soros. Shouldn't I invest in Russia? Simon said and left under Soros' surprised eyes. George Soros failed miserably in the Russian woolen business in those days, which was much greater than the loss of Zhangjiang. There has never been any public sarcasm on Russia, but China has always been brooding. Ivanka was chatting with Wendy Ding and others when she received a call from Simon saying she was going to leave first at night. Do you want me to come and find you? Ivanka asked. No, you go home and have a look. I will find you then. Simon himself was already sitting in the car. Simon was a little depressed when he met Rupert Murdoch and George Soros, two fuel-efficient people. I suddenly saw the incident where Kanye West grabbed the microphone when his own singer Taylor Swift won the Best Song MV award at the VMA Music Awards held in Radio City, New York. Tonight the mood is even worse. After all, Taylor Swift's backer is Star Records, not the original small record production company. Therefore, Simon intends to go over there and see what is going on. Chapter 320. The Nets are not New York. The VMA Music Festival has ended, and Simon is chatting with Valentino Gallo, the head of Star Records, in a private room of a bar. Of course, Taylor Swift was in a bad mood tonight. When she gave her acceptance speech at the Best Video Awards, she was insulted by Kanye West. Taylor, how is she? Simon asked. Fortunately, I have just been interviewed by the media. Many people are grieved for Taylor Swift. We will also sue Kanye West in front of the major media tomorrow, Valentino said. Gallo said this guy really doesn't have a lot of brains. Simon shook his head and said, Taylor Swift is the cash cow of Star Records. When the time comes, discuss it with Sonia. She has experience in this situation. Simon continued. Boss, Tyler and Katie and a few of their friends are having fun outside. Would you like to meet me? Valentino Gallo didn't know why Simon came here. Since he's here, it's okay to have a drink together. Good. Simon waved his hand. Forget it, I'm going back to rest. Since you have a solution, that's fine. After that, Simon was about to leave the bar and go back to where he lived at the bar. Simon had just come out of the bathroom but met Taylor Swift, who was a little drunk. Well, Taylor, Simon greeted first in Taylor Swift's surprise good evening, Mr. Pike. Taylor Swift came to her senses, and hurriedly said hello to Simon too. After all, after the big robot record company was acquired, it has been smooth sailing. It would have been exciting to win Best Video for Country Music, if it wasn't for Kanye West's interruption. At this point, Taylor Swift was wearing a backless dress, and the baby fat on her face had disappeared. Of course, the early instant noodle heads have also had a facelift. Tall and tall, she does look like a model. Don't worry, I already know what happened tonight. You are now a singer under Star Records, and you won't be wronged, Simon said and patted the girl on the shoulder. This is a golden cash cow. Thank you, Mr. Pike. Taylor Swift responded with a grateful nod, who was really helpless when Kanye West grabbed the microphone on stage before Simon quickly left the bar and returned to his villa on the Upper East Side. Soon, the incident of Taylor Swift being snatched by Kanye West on the show began to ferment. Countless criticism and taunts hit Kanye West, though he was quick to publicly apologize in front of the media. After all, even President Mario mentioned it in an interview and called Kanye West a jerk. Moreover, the most scolding is actually the Kardashian family. Keeping Up with the Kardashians was produced by Xinghei's TV department after all, and the Kardashian family, who gained money and fame, quickly faced Kanye West in the media at the prompt of Sonia Roman. Cannon fired. Sure enough, the world has changed. I wonder if Kanye West and Kim Kardashian will marry in the future? Simon muttered while looking at the newspaper. Ivanka walked into the living room and saw Simon still reading the newspaper. Aren't we going to see the New York Jets versus the Miami Dolphins? Is it time to go? Ivanka reminded the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets, both of which belong to the AFC Federation's East Division. This time, the Miami Dolphins came to the MetLife Stadium in New York, the home of the New York Jets, to play the game and said what to watch. Well, Simon looked at the time. It's only 11 o'clock. The game starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's go. You can still have something to eat over there. Simon said and stood up, but he was actually a little helpless. You said that the two NFL teams, the New York Jets and the New York Giants, are the MetLife Stadium, but the actual location of the MetLife Stadium is actually located in East Rutherford, New Jersey, adjacent to the suburbs of New York. It's the same area as my current Nets team. Simon couldn't figure it out. Why should the Jets and Giants be called New York's team and the Nets called New Jersey's team? In the car, Simon grumbles because football is bigger and more popular in the US than basketball. Well, isn't your Nets moving from East Rutherford, New Jersey to Brooklyn, New York next year? Ivanka smiled at that time. The Nets can be called the New York Nets. Simon looked out of the car, and was actually a little worried that he would be recognized by the New Jersey fans, and then they would hold a banner against him to move the Nets away maybe. What should the Nets be changing? Simon had thought about it before but didn't feel relieved. MetLife Stadium, currently the largest stadium in the United States, has a capacity of more than 80,000 people. The Miami Dolphins are playing away from home, and of course there are not as many local fans. Simon deliberately met with the coach and players before the game to chat. I also took a photo with this year's rookie Michael Oher. Yes, Michael Oher is the actor prototype of the movie Weakness starring Nicole Kidman, which will be released by Xinghai Pictures this year. If Michael Oher hadn't been drafted by the Miami Dolphins this year, he would have been drafted by the Mount Ravens selected 23rd overall. Mr. Pike, do you have a confidence in the Miami Dolphins today? Simon, surrounded by reporters, was interviewed with confidence. I'm sure the Miami Dolphins will win. Mr. Pike, are you and Ms. Ivanka in a relationship? We are friends and have some real estate partnerships. The Nets are relocating from New Jersey to Brooklyn, New York. How do you explain to the fans in New Jersey who love the Nets? Okay, the game is about to start and the interview is over. The perceptive Miami Dolphins team leader hurriedly ended the interview, protecting Simon back to the auditorium near the Dolphins. Sure enough, Simon will be asked this question whenever he is in New Jersey, which is why Simon is rarely seen at the current Nets home of the War Memorial Arena after the game officially started. The atmosphere in the audience was really hot, and the Yankees' love for football was really crazy. The New York Jets are not strong. The Miami Dolphins should be fine, Simon whispered. Look, after all, the Miami Dolphins are not too strong. Ivanka laughed. This, Simon curled his lips. The New York Jets are hot chickens now. Will the Miami Dolphins not win? Did the Miami Dolphins trade important players this year? Chapter 321 Competitors. The match between the Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets really lived up to expectations and won. The New York Jets under the watchful eyes of Simon. The score of 27 hours and 36 minutes can make the local fans laugh for a while. Who wants the fans in New Jersey to oppose the relocation of the Nets? Obviously, the New York Jets and the New York Giants, two teams that are also in New Jersey, can be called New York teams, but the Nets cannot. After the game, Simon and Ivanka returned to Manhattan as soon as possible. Aren't we going to have dinner together? Simon asked when the car stopped in front of Simon's Upper East Side mansion. No, I will have dinner with my family this weekend. Ivanka shook her head, and then asked again, how about you? Do you want to meet my family with me? See your family? Simon shook his head and responded, no, the company has a lot of important things to decide recently. Your rude father. Simon feels sick just thinking about it. Okay then. Ivanka saw that Simon didn't agree with the loss in her eyes, and was about to get out of the car and leave. Well, let the driver take you back. Simon stopped Ivanka from getting out of the car, then put Ivanka in his arms, and kissed him on the lips. Well, Ivanka, who hadn't reacted yet, was gagged, and then responded with her arms around Simon's neck. Next time, have a chance, Simon said after getting out of the car after the kiss. After another weekend, Simon finally returned to his turf, Los Angeles, in the small conference room of Xinghai Entertainment headquarters in Los Angeles, Burbank. Simon is having a meeting with several high-level executives: Nina Jacobson, president of Xinghai Film and Television; Adrian Alperovich, head of Xinghai Home Entertainment; Kevin Feige, head of Marvel Studios; Jason Brunn, president of Aurora Pictures; Ashley Brax, head of Starz Studios; and, of course, Sonia Roman, executive president of TV. Dick Cook is in the UK, and Chris Miller-Dantley is busy working on Star C Animation's first animated feature, Despicable Me: Fake Marriage. Last Friday's North American opening weekend grossed $35 million at the box office, and word of mouth is also on the rise. It is a certainty that the North American box office will exceed $100 million. Not bad. Simon first looked at the film that the company has just released, followed by No. District 9 is just as successful. Thor is also a success. Next year, we will release 2 blockbusters adapted from Marvel, Iron Man 2 and Captain America, The Avengers. Kevin, you have to pay attention, Simon reminded again. Okay, Kevin Feige nodded quickly. After all, the impact of Marvel Studios is really not small now. Jason, you can communicate with the Asian director Wen Xiaoran of the Chainsaw in terms of Aurora films. In terms of horror movies, I still trust him more. Simon has always been concerned about the director Wen Xiaoran. Apart from Saw, the other horror films in charge were less successful. However, Simon remembers that the Conjuring series is about to start. Wen Xiaoran doesn't know if he has this idea. I've been following him too. In fact, I like this type of film myself. Recently, I also had an idea for a horror movie, which is in the preparatory stage. Jason Brun was originally a horror movie lover. Simon nodded. Let's end the meeting, everyone. Go and do your own business. Simon returned to his office to research some blockbuster plans from other studios. Disney's live-action movies Alice in Wonderland and Prince of Persia: The Blade of Time are both released next year, and Pirates of the Caribbean 4 will be restarted again, because Universal's Fast and Furious 4 was not bad this year. In addition to the follow-up of X-Men Grease, 20th Century Fox will restart their old IP Rise of the Planet of the Apes. The rest of the sequel movies, such as Transformers 3, Fast and Furious 5, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows and so on. In addition to the Marvel series, Xinghai Pictures currently also has the Twilight series and the Hangover series. The Hunger Games novel and A Song of Ice and Fire need Sonia Roman to get the adaptation rights as soon as possible. Still have to develop other original films, not just rely on these. 20th Century Fox will have Percy Jackson and The Thief of Fire next year. Warner Brothers will also have Clash of the Gods next year. And God of War to be produced and distributed by Relativity Media is also scheduled for the year after. Greek mythology has ushered in a small outbreak. However, Simon is most concerned about Universal Pictures, of course. After September this year, Universal has 4 more films released, but they are mainly comedies and thrillers. Next year, Universal has Wolfman and the historical blockbuster Robin Hood starring Russell Crowe and Cate Blanchett in theaters. Both were failed remakes, and the investment was not small. Simon leaned on his chair and tapped his fingers on his desktop. After Dick Cook went to communicate with Vivendi, he was naturally known by General Electric. Therefore, Simon formally proposed to General Electric the acquisition of NBC Universal. Because Doncaster also has this intention, it has now become a competitor of Doncaster. Xinghai Pictures has achieved good results, and the Xinghai TV department is of course not bad. Not to mention the previously developed Gossip Girl, Modern Family and Modern Family, they have made a lot of money. Moreover, this year there's more The Good Wife, this kind of urban lawyer fashion drama, and The Walking Dead, this kind of comical TV series. The Good Wife will premiere at the end of this month, while The Walking Dead won't premiere until November. Just when Simon was about to open his computer email to find out what projects the company had received during this period of time, Laura Collins knocked on the door and came in. As Simon Place reported, boss, Jeff Zucker, chairman of NBC Universal Entertainment, has invited you to dinner tonight, and Universal's CEO Gene Mayer and president. What about Adam Ferguson? Oh, Universal has a move? Simon narrowed his eyes, and Universal's personnel transfer is still a bit big. Jeff Zucker, who was in charge of NBC Universal's television network division, is now directly chairman of NBC Universal, a position previously held by General Electric Vice President Bob Wright. At the same time, Gene Mayer is only the president of Universal Pictures, and now he is also the CEO. Understood. We will also go to a few more people at that time, Simon said with a smile. This is because NBC Universal is already in a hurry. General Electric has suffered heavy losses this year, and now Universal Pictures' performance is also not very good. Both Xinghai Entertainment and Doncaster are going to acquire NBC Universal. Of course, they must strive for the best interests. Chapter 322 Sexy Vase. In a private club in the West Hollywood area of Los Angeles, Simon brings Nina Jacobson and Sonia Roman to a meeting with the big three of Universal. Gene Mayer has been in Universal Pictures for many years and has a high reputation in Universal Pictures. The CEO of Universal Pictures has changed several people in recent years. Congratulations, Simon said with a smile as they sat around the sofa. Adam Ferguson, who took over from Gene Mayer's former president's position, was an external rookie and a little reserved. Simon, it's time to congratulate you. Xinghai Pictures has done a great job this year, and good movies have been released one after another, said Gene Mayer, who is an agent and one of the 5 founders of CAA. He has a strong relationship in Hollywood and many years of working experience, but he is jealous of the strong rise of Xinghai Pictures. Universal has indeed had a bad year this year. The 2 blockbusters in the summer, the sci-fi comedy The Lost Continent and Public Enemy starring Johnny Depp and Christian Bale, have invested over 100 million yuan and have no box office results meet company expectations. Universal Pictures took the shot this year, and only won Fast and Furious 4. I've already met with Vivendi CEO Jean Bernard, and GE can buy back the 20% of NBC Universal from Vivendi first, said Jeff Zucker at this time. Opened up well, then what? Simon asked. GE does have the idea of selling NBC Universal, but whether it's Doncaster or Xinghai Entertainment, we want to form a new company, including NBC Universal Entertainment, and GE will have a half stake, Jeff Zucker said. Shareholders demands it can't be. Nina Jacobson directly objected also. The newly formed company will definitely be directed by Xinghai Entertainment, and NBC Universal is fully cooperating with Simon's reorganization and leadership. Jeff Zucker continued. Simon listened to Jeff Zucker's words and just smiled, and he dared to mention this condition. It seems that the losses of NBC Universal are still not serious enough. Simon shook his head and said casually, I want to acquire NBC Universal, not to cooperate with you. The cash and equity model will not change, but I will not take out too many shares to trade. Simon, does Xinghai Entertainment still have such a large amount of money? I know Xinghai Entertainment is issuing a bond, but the market value of NBC Universal is not cheap. Jean Mayer reminded also. Doncaster is also very interested in us. Adam Ferguson also explained there are many funds and banks that have always supported us, and we have no shortage of capital. Sonia Roman said domineeringly at this time this was just a high-level exchange between the 2 groups, and the 3-hour meeting basically had no effect. They are raising prices on the ground, and Doncaster is raising prices. Nina Jacobson frowned after the end. After all, Doncaster is the largest network and cable provider in the United States, and it also controls a lot of TV stations. The cooperation with NBC will indeed be more in line with better and more complete channels. The advantage of Xinghai Entertainment is of course the content production of film and television, and content is the biggest capital of Xinghai Entertainment. Notify Northern Securities, Goldman Sachs, Metropolitan Insurance, and BlackRock that we need financial support, and entrust Blackstone to buy NBC Universal for us, Simon said, adding his own 9-headed bird fund. With these funds investing in companies, funding should not be a problem. Blackstone Group has a lot of network and also has rich experience in undertaking acquisitions of large companies. Now, it's time for a showdown. Let's fight Doncaster. The acquisition of a large-scale group is not a simple matter, and the preliminary preparations are also very complicated, such as asset evaluation, risk control and capital preparation, or shareholder lobbying and competitor research, etc. Jessica Alba takes a dip in the pool at Simon's beach house, Santa Monica, Los Angeles. Simon sat on the beach chair next to him and flipped through the newspaper. After all, Xinghai Entertainment and Doncaster's public offer to buy NBC Universal was big news. After all, Xinghai Entertainment is really a too young company. Will Hollywood meet again to lead a new reshuffle? Simon Pike, who is less than 30 years old, is more famous than the younger Zuckerberg, who is rising rapidly because he is in the Hollywood circle. Not only are there more assets, but more because one is a Harvard University and the other is just a film and television major in Southern California. A living parent and an orphan are a stark contrast. Hey, Simon put down the newspaper and stood up. The sun was a little bit drying, and Simon didn't like sunbathing very much. Simon, put on the sunscreen for me, said Jessica Alba, her chocolate brown skin that did shine in the sun. Jessica Alba immediately lay down on the beach chair to sunbathe, and unbuttoned her bra. Simon picked up the sunscreen and smeared it on the girl's body. Honey, your figure is still so good, Simon said with a smile while smearing, as expected of a Hollywood sexy girl. Now all kinds of media are covering your news. Does Xinghai Entertainment really want to participate in the acquisition of NBC Universal? Jessica Alba is now mainly busy with his own e-commerce company, but he is also a Hollywood bastard, so of course he will pay attention to this kind of event. There are indeed a lot of media, so it's not that I don't live in Beverly Hills now, and the beach villas in Marbury and Santa Monica can also be quieter. The acquisition of NBC Universal is also a long-term process. Take your time. Simon didn't explain much. By the way, how many movie projects do you receive now? Simon asked suddenly. Yeah, but now I've turned down some R-rated works. Jessica Alba now has Simon to support her startup, and really doesn't want to show off her body in some R-rated movies. However, For some romantic comedy invitations, I will still accept it and keep the heat, Jessica added. Simon nodded. Jessica Alba's career in movies is not strong, and her acting skills are basically not much that is to show sexy in the movie. As a base, since now she wants to spend time on entrepreneurship, that's fine at least. With the sexy displays of the past few years, there's still no problem with Jessica Alba's popularity. After all, the list of sexy actresses in magazines has always been the famous one. Chapter 323, No Kissing Scene. At noon, in a coffee shop near the Xinghe studio, Simon was chatting with lawyer Catherine Hills, the head of his family. Catherine Hills was originally the big housekeeper in charge of managing Simon's life. She was a law student at Yale University and was only an assistant in the lawyer team at first in the past 2 years, because he helped Simon deal with several Colombian beauty pageants introduced by Sofia Vergara to the United States, as well as a series of matters such as the acquisition of real estate and yachts for Simon this year. 26-year-old Catherine Hills received a master's degree in law from Yale University. In addition, it is a typical highly educated white beauty who meets Simon's aesthetic, and it is enough to become a Hollywood vase. Therefore, now he has become Simon's life director, specializing in solving some of Simon's personal affairs. My scandal report? This shouldn't be a big deal. It's just because of the news of Xinghe's acquisition of NBC Universal, the newspapers reported more about me. Simon said that he is now being noticed by the media again. How happy? Well, the boss is not married, and he has not announced a girlfriend, plus he is young and handsome, and with proper guidance, it will also become a push for your boss to gain more support. Catherine Hills also responded. Simon waved his hand and said casually, "It's all trivial matters, you just need to leave some messes aside with me anyway. You know I don't like to expose too much." Although Catherine Hills was helpless, she could only nod her head. But as a young Hollywood tycoon, in the entertainment industry, there is no shortage of attractive factors. By the way, you go to Europe to buy a secluded manor house for me in London, and at the same time go to France to choose a seaside holiday house for me. Simon may have to go to Europe frequently in the future, and the villa is used as an investment. Not bad. Okay, does the boss have a specific thing about France? Catherine Hills asked. Saint-Tropez in the south, a small tourist town between Marseille and Cannes. The scenery there is very good. Simon visited when he went to the Cannes Film Festival before. My style, what kind of house I like, you also know. Okay, Catherine Hills nodded quickly. The Italian Mediterranean style decoration style, or the Nordic simple style. One was the standard for large villas, and the other was the standard for high-rise mansions. Catherine Hills is really envious. Rich people are so good that they can buy villas all over the world just like grocery shopping. Afterwards, Catherine Hills got up and was about to leave. Before leaving, she said, "Tomorrow I'm going to fly to Europe." Simon nodded, and after Catherine Hills left, Simon also prepared to sit for a while and leave. At this moment, Kristen Stewart, the heroine of Twilight Saga 2 Crescent, was filming on the 8th studio of Xinghe Studio, and she just came into the cafe with her assistant after the construction of the headquarters of Xinghe Entertainment. The studio area was further expanded, and 150 acres of land was purchased nearby, and 4 new studios and small-town locations were built, including a series of various scenes such as mountains, rivers, small deserts, etc. Land, you go back first, and I'll go back to the set by myself later. Kristen Stewart told her assistant after seeing Simon Parker. The assistant nodded and understood what Kristen Stewart meant, and of course he did so quickly. "Hi, Simon, good noon." Kristen Stewart came to Simon, who could only see Simon's back before. "Oh, Kristen." Simon was stunned when he saw it was Kristen Stewart, and then he understood. After all, the current Kristen Stewart's quiet makeup looks like the look in the movie Twilight. "Are you filming Twilight, New Moon here?" Simon asked. "Why are you alone? Isn't it lunchtime?" Kristen Stewart doesn't even have an assistant. After all, he is now an American youth idol. Kristen Stewart sat across from Simon and explained, "Come over here for a coffee and think about the characters." What happened to the character? Simon also felt strange. Isn't the heroine of Twilight responsible for her beauty? There was some pressure, Kristen Stewart explained, trying to act differently, but didn't know how to redefine it. "Come on, I'll take you to a place where you can decompress," Simon said as the movie drove Kristen Stewart out of the cafe. Simon's car was parked in front of an independent manor-style castle deep in the studio. "This is..." Kristen Stewart looked at the castle with a puzzled look after getting out of the car. "This is a haunted castle that has just been built. It has not yet been opened to the public. It is used as a filming location for horror movies, Simon said and shrugged. Of course, it can also be used as a real castle manor by just painting it this. Is this the way you talk about decompression? Kristen Stewart was really not interested. I'm going to shoot in the afternoon, Kristen Stewart said, pulling Simon into the car before Simon could start the car. Kristen Stewart put his arms around Simon and started kissing. I thought it was this way of decompression at first, Kristen Stewart said in Simon's ear. It turned out that Simon immediately pressed on the girl sideways and started to kiss, and his right hand stretched directly from the hem of the girl's knitted sweater. Well, it's only half an hour, are you going back? Kristen Stewart responded, checking the time on her watch. Half an hour. Simon couldn't bear this situation, but Twilight is his own movie. Is there a kiss scene in the afternoon? Simon asked, leaning on the driver's seat. No kiss scene. 10 minutes later, the car started and drove in the direction of Studio 8. Kristen Stewart covered his mouth and raised his head. Simon drives, and Kristen Stewart starts to touch up her makeup, chewing on the gum in her bag. After arriving at the location, Simon looked at Kristen Stewart and said, I'll come here to find you when I have time these days. Well, Kristen Stewart nodded with a smile. After all, as the boss of Xinghe Pictures, it is normal for Simon to patrol the filming studio afterwards. Kristen Stewart got out of the car and went straight to the studio, deliberately lighting a cigarette for herself on the way. Chapter 324, All Holidays. In the south of downtown San Francisco, the headquarters of the San Francisco Chronicle is an old and somewhat historical building. Simon came here to see the newspaper business with the largest circulation under the group. Galaxy Entertainment has undergone a series of reforms since the Hearst Group acquired the San Francisco Chronicle, and the loss last year still exceeded $10 million. However, because of the implementation of many layoff plans, it should be much better than the Hearst period. Jeff Johnson, the current editor-in-chief of the San Francisco Chronicle, also came over from the Los Angeles Times. This year the newspaper industry has come to a severe winter. Although we have cut staff and outsourced printing business, the most important thing is that we still need news, big news that can attract people, Jeff Johnson explained. I understand that the San Francisco Chronicle should have transformed a long time ago. It can be less about people's livelihood and the environment, and focus on fashion, entertainment, sports or political and financial affairs. Simon is now the boss of Xinghe Entertainment, and he has 9 heads. Bird fund blessing. Of course, the San Francisco Chronicle needs to accelerate its transformation to online news. The editorial department needs more online editors. Those who did not want to change in the past must be abolished. Simon doesn't care about protests or news traditions, Simon. What is needed is news flow, a distribution market. Understood. This year, the San Francisco Chronicle will not lose money. With a big backer of Xinghe Entertainment, various news about Hollywood emerge one after another. Coupled with the news of the 9-head Bird Fund, the financial sector is changing with each passing day, and there are more first-hand information about Silicon Valley. The improvement of the San Francisco Chronicle News Network is the most important thing for Simon. Through the acquisition of online news sites and other rapid development, it is only the largest newspaper in Northern California. Of course, it cannot satisfy Simon's ambitions. At least it's the dominant news on the entire West Coast, and the biggest competitor, the Los Angeles Times, has to get down. It's good to report more eye-catching news. The accuracy of the news is very important, but it is also the news that is scored, and what people like to watch. You should know. Simon doesn't want the San Francisco Chronicle to always educate, innocent news about municipalities and the like, especially in terms of streaming media. You can try to learn YouTube's video technology, let people upload original videos, or some game videos, etc., real-life performances and the like, just like reality TV shows, live video. Simon wants to pass the distribution channel of the San Francisco Chronicle. Each live video of the cake. YouTube has Google, and online streaming will definitely not compete, but Simon wants to eat the big pie of personal live streaming. Reality live broadcasts are personal online commentaries such as performances based on games, entertainment, etc., such as performances? Jeff Johnson asked. Yes, that's it. Now that smartphones are developing rapidly, we must pay close attention to the experience of using mobile phones. In the future market, people may be more willing to use mobile phones to browse news, watch movies and other activities, Simon said. Anyway, Johnson has also paid more attention to mobile streaming in recent years. Of course, these are the future, and what matters now is the growth and profitability of the San Francisco Chronicle. What's missing from the San Francisco Chronicle is a bombshell topic that has sparked national debate, just like the Weinstein incident in Hollywood before. It's a good time to make a name for yourself, isn't it? The tabloids gossip, the big newspapers have a rhythm, not all large media organizations do. As the entertainment capital of Los Angeles, if you want to beat the Los Angeles Times, you must capture the entertainment market in Los Angeles as soon as possible. After that, Simon left. After all, he came to San Francisco this time to meet with senior executives of Wells Fargo Bank. At the same time, he also let the nine-head bird invest in P, an instant messaging software for smartphones. P was originally just a small startup company with no financing plan. It was established in 2007. Simon has been watching, because the financial tsunami has made life more difficult, and now he has come to San Francisco to discuss investments with founder Brian Acton and his team. What makes Simon even happier is that Brian Acton and his team have a very different view on financing. Instead of bringing in more VCs, they want to work with just one investor, just like Simon's taste, and then the two hit it off. In this way, Simon directly became P's investment partner, $10 million directly in exchange for 50% of the shares, but only half of the voting rights. In the case that P needs funds in the future, Simon will provide financial support, or introduce another venture capital institution as a partner. Simon remembers that in the future, Sequoia Capital will be the venture capital institution of P. It invested $60 million in 2 rounds in a few years, and then P was acquired by Facebook for $22 billion. San Francisco, Hyatt Regency Hotel. Simon stood in front of the window looking at the Millennium Tower in the distance. This 58-story Millennium Tower is the first high-rise luxury residential building in San Francisco that was completed this year. Martha Cosby, who was on the bed, also got out of bed, put on a nightgown, went to the window, and hugged Simon's waist from behind. Martha Cosby seemed to be still a little unfinished about last night. She followed Simon's eyes and smiled. "Boss, do you want to buy a mansion on the top floor of the Millennium Tower? It's very good inside, and all kinds of services are top-notch. Yes, you can see the whole San Francisco and the San Francisco Bay. PFFT, I have so many houses, although it looks good there, but San Francisco belongs to the earthquake zone. I don't want high-rise buildings in San Francisco." Simon laughed. "I like the Pacific Heights villa over there. It's quiet and has a good view. The Millennium Tower will sink deep underground in less than 10 years in the future, and Simon feels a little scared when he thinks about it." Haha, the San Francisco earthquake? It hasn't been there for many years. Martha Cosby didn't say much, but according to the boss's style, he did like big villas. "Halloween is coming. I seem to have received a lot of invitations to the Halloween party." Simon turned around, and Simon, who was wearing a pair of bottoms, showed his abs on his chest. Martha Cosby rubbed Simon's body and looked at Simon's casual expression, and said a little strangely, "Boss, you don't seem to be interested in Halloween. Except for Christmas, Halloween is an important carnival festival." Originally, Simon was indifferent to Christmas, and he never thought that even Halloween would be treated like this. Simon stretched out his hand, squeezed a few times on the girl's chest, and said with a smile, "Time is precious. It's the same for me if it's not a festival." Afterwards, she pressed Martha Cosby's shoulder with her hand, and the girl obediently knelt down in front of Simon. "Oh, or rather, every day is a holiday for me," Simon said, placing his hand on the girl's head. Chapter 325 My Conditions. After a hilarious Halloween, Hollywood is still Hollywood, and the arrival of the end of the year has added to the drunken dreams of celebrities. After all, the Oscars gala at the beginning of next year needs various film companies, producers and other filmmakers to market and lobby the Oscar judges at the same time. There seems to be a lot less news about the NBC Universal acquisition. After all, the current acquisition competitors are still in the pipeline. However, Hollywood never lacks materials. Without this, there will be another one. The century-old MGM has had a debt crisis since the beginning of the year until now. The films released by MGM this year have also been unsuccessful at the box office, and the debt interest repayment date has arrived. It is difficult for the MGM Group. Aurora Pictures, as a sub-production company of Xinghai Entertainment, just released Ghost Records in theaters last month. Because it has been released in the DVD market for a long time before, it is not a big deal to release it in theaters. However, Ghost Story is also a horror film in the pseudo-documentary mode, and its reputation is of course good, and the second sequel is of course a matter of course. Aurora Pictures has also released 2 low-budget horror films, Orphans and This Ghost Records. At the moment, in the office, Jason Brunn, president of Aurora Pictures, is discussing the new script with the creators of Chainsaw, James Wing and Ray Warner. "This is Ray's script again?" Jason Brunn asked with a smile after reading it. "Yes, It was conceived during the filming of Chainsaw, and I heard James talking about Mr. Bren, and came here to talk about the script idea. Ray Warner is basically James Wing's ace screenwriter. The idea is very good. After perfecting it, I think it can be shot. Jason Bren originally liked James Wing's horror films, but now he has a good idea, and of course he has to cooperate. This script doesn't have some large-scale scenes, nor does it require the participation of big-name stars, and the cost budget will not be high. James Wan said at this time. After all, since the success of Chainsaw, James Wan has indeed risen, but the results of 2 consecutive horror movies have not met investors' expectations. James Wan is ready to shoot a low-budget, high-box horror film once again. Jason Bren nodded. The current name of the script is Supernatural. However, many times the name will change when the script is filmed, and only the name that is finally decided when it is released is true. Of course, what they don't know at the moment is this Supernatural. After the filming is completed and it participates in the Toronto Film Festival, there will be another release name, Hidden. At the dinner held by the Hollywood Producers Association in Los Angeles, executives of various film companies and independent producers attended. Many producers are also directors, screenwriters, etc. Of course, many actors are also producers in any party. The star must be the star. Simon sat on the sofa, chatting with Amy Pascal, one of Sony Columbia's affiliates. Without a star, how can the media come to interview? Amy Pascal smiled. This young man, it's really not easy. The strength of Xinghai Entertainment this year has made the entire Hollywood feel a little uneasy. How many blockbuster movies have been released since the beginning of the year? By the way, Xinghai Pictures will release a Nicole Kidman movie soon. Is Simon also confident? Amy Pascal asked. After all, Nicole Kidman is a big box office poison. Hey, sports inspirational film. The cost is not very high. I think it's not bad. The plot is also very touching. Nicole's performance is very good. There should be no big problem, Simon said, although he was a little worried about Nicole Kidman, but not to the movie's protagonist being that fat black man. Amy Pascal nodded. There was no way. Simon's eyes really made God jealous. Next month, 2012 will be released globally, and Columbia's overseas promotion has already started? Simon asked. After all, this 2012 is a special effects disaster blockbuster between the 2 companies. Xinghai is responsible for North America and overseas markets as Columbia, and it started a long time ago. Anyway, it was the premiere on December 1st. It was just that the distribution negotiations with China were delayed for a while, but they were all resolved. Amy Pascal was still very worried about not being able to enter China at that time. After all, there are many plots about Chinese plots in the movie, all for the Chinese box office market. On December 1st, Avatar will be released globally on December 16th, half a month ahead of schedule, so it should be fine. What is Simon worried about? It's not just James Cameron's blockbuster Avatar grabbing the market. You are also worried about Avatar. It really needs to be taken seriously. Cameron's 10 years of preparation for the sci-fi blockbuster is also a huge production. It was released to the public, but it was also considered to avoid 2012. Avatar is 3D technology, and it is estimated that all IMAX theater screens will play it. Most of the theaters in the United Theater currently held by Simon are also IMAX theaters. By the way, MGM Trust executive Stephen Cooper was opposed by creditors because of MGM's debt and expected asset restructuring. Now he has announced to seek cooperation. Simon, aren't you interested? Amy Pascal said, staring at Simon's face. Seeking cooperation? Simon smiled. Seeking external cooperation is not a problem. Selling assets to sell MGM, of course I will bid. Isn't Stephen Cooper accepting bids from all parties? $2 billion if they sell it, I will take it, Simon said with a smile. Amy Pascal shook her head and explained, last year, the debt of Anchorage Fund and Carl Icah's joint acquisition of MGM was 50 to 60 cents per dollar, and last year MGM's debt is no less than $4 billion, so it is difficult for MGM to sell for less than $2 billion. Simon looked at Amy Pascal, smiled, and took a sip of wine. Sony used Wall Street to control MGM with leverage, but it was abandoned when it ran out. MGM has several short-term debts due last year and this year, with no interest paid at all, plus the movies made in the past 2 years are a mess. How much can a 007 make? Now they have even the 23rd 007 and The Hobbit. The production funds are not available. MGM's debt has already exceeded $5 billion so far, and MGM's total assets. At present, I estimate that it is about $2.5 billion, and the price of $2 billion is basically enough, the highest price ever. Simon said also, "You should also know who Carl Icahn is. He holds more than 20% of MGM's debt and is one of the major shareholders of Lionsgate. He wants to do it. It's clear, Warner Brothers, Disney, 20th Century Fox will make bids, and I bet no one will bid more than $2 billion. Amy, I know what you mean. Xinghai Entertainment is a strong independent film group in your eyes. The 6 Hollywood models have existed for a long time. It's time to make a move." Simon narrowed his eyes. "I bought NBC Universal and you were scared, didn't you?" Amy Pascal smiled helplessly. The 6 of them did discuss that if Simon could acquire MGM, the huge debt crisis would definitely hold back Xinghai Entertainment. Meanwhile, Carl Icahn, his longtime hedge fund rival on Wall Street, is bound to hold him back. Simon, MGM was also a member of MPAA before. If Xinghai Entertainment acquired MGM, the association would immediately let you become a member again. After all, you don't lack the annual membership fee of $20 to $30 million US. Amy Pascal named the 6 conditions well. MPAA member? Simon was indeed interested in this, laughed. "You don't seem confident in my acquisition of NBC Universal. Forget it. If you can let me buy MGM for $2 billion, I can take $5 billion in debt. I'd love to." 007 in the hands of MGM, the overseas distribution rights of The Hobbit, and more than 4,000 movie rights in the film library. Although it is a bit uncomfortable to acquire MGM at this price, Simon knows that the future will definitely be a big profit. Regardless of Amy Pascal's helpless and frowning face, Simon just smiled and walked away. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.